just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Welcome, everyone. It is Paul Everton here, the host of the Truth Table. This is season 2, episode 19. And tonight we're going to talk about the Nationalist Constitutional Reform Party. We're going to go over the platform, and we're going to meet the founder, Gordan, and also a good friend of mine, Brandon, will be joining us, and we're just going to, what do they call that? Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to sharpen each other, and hopefully we'll all benefit as well as you at home. And maybe we can find remedy and solutions for the future in the situation we're in. I'm going to open it up for questions. If anyone has any questions during our discussion, just mark them in the comments. I'll see them and we'll get to them one by one. But for now, let us. I will bring them on right after this. I appreciate you all coming back to the Truth Table. Please welcome my guest, Gordan. Thank you for coming back, Gordan.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, I wanted you to come back because I wanted to have a more intense sharing of the platform so people can understand it, know where to go. I'm going to put the link in the comments so anyone can go there. They can look through it and, use your own judgment and, share it with your friends. And because we're really at a fulcrum point in history where we're watching Canada getting demolished financially through debt and a lot of other ways, destroying of animals, and a lot of horrible things that we've had to face. Now, I'm going to put his platform here so you can also read it, but I'm also going to bring in Brandon to join us in case he wants to. Thank you for coming, Brandon, once again to the Truth Table. And thank you, Kathy. What Kathy said here, let me just, you're new to me. Yes, I'm Paul Everton. I'm North American people. I like to say people. I don't like to say indigenous or Micmac. Micmac really describes the region I'm from in Quebec. And I was compelled to start this podcast through other people that, said it needed to be done. It was like something that needed to be done. We're in a spiritual war, and I've been studying spirituality and different religions for a long time just to find out what everyone had to say, why they disagree and just expand my knowledge on that. Having loss of some children after vaccinations, I got into the medical issues that we're dealing with, and I love Gordon's platform because he really addresses every idea that went through my head. Full, complete, and transparent investigations will be open into all of the current and former politicians, bureaucrats, and public health officials at all levels of the government in connection with foreign interference. All protections will be removed that may or may not exist via parliamentary privilege, privy council, secrecy oaths, and like the COVID-19 pandemic, the validity of the pandemic, and all measures taken, including but not limited to masks, lockdowns, closure of business, travel restrictions, and vaccines. Accountability, that's what it's talking about. And I have absolutely no problem with that. You know, justice, accountability, and remedy. And we're, you know, one thing that we need is unity. You know, we have to end the divide. Don't let them make you pick a side to a war. Doesn't matter. They're both bad. Anyone who drops a bomb on innocent people is bad. It doesn't matter what side. So they want you to pick a side all the time to divide us, like the mask, the non-mask, the vax, the non-vax. It's all a fifth generational war that they've been using on us. And Gordon is, you know, dealing with it through his platform where it promises to you know, to freeze their bank accounts. Has there been any changes to your platform at all, like since you started? Have you modified it at all, Gordon?
Uh, no, not since I put it together. First of all, I want to apologize to the people on here viewing because I'm having a difficult time here, and that's why I have to hold my phone up just so they understand when I'm listening to you or your friend there. I'm going to have to do that, so I apologize to the people for that. But it is what it is, technical glitches. So
No worries.
I put the platform together because when I did this, I realized that I understand a lot of things and comprehend a lot of things about the design of this system and how fraudulent it is, and you know, the fact that the federal government really doesn't have any lawful authority to govern. So I kind of hummed and hawed, and I try to, you know, what's the best way to go? Do I softball things and, you know, appease people, or do I just put it out there? And so I decided, as far as transparency goes, I just figured it was a better way to go to put it out there the way it is. And based on me understanding what the concept I'm trying to accomplish, then I'll just deal with the questions. I tell people all the time, when you look at it, it may seem like extreme, because no other political party is going to talk about the things that I'm talking about. That's why I would hazard to say it's not really a political party. It's just a mechanism that's available to us that we're using to try to get control to fix the system. But anyway, I haven't made any changes to it, and I hope to make changes. And one of the changes that I hope to make and add to it as I start moving forward is things in relation to the natives. And I'm like you, I don't like the term indigenous or Aboriginal. I think they're not good terms, and people need to get educated on that. But that's a whole nother tangent. Anyway, I have some ideas, but I would rather work with the natives on putting that together. So this isn't a follow me. This is what I'm doing. This is something I put together. I put the basis of it together, and it's for people to take part in, and we can, because it's about the people. It's by the people for the people. So it's got to be built by the people. So I do plan to make some changes. Some things that are glaringly obvious that I forgot to add was like lobbying and things like that. But a lot of those things that aren't in the platform, those will be dealt with constitutional convention ideology and actually writing the real constitution for the people. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I also think that the natives do want to talk. They want to. The colonialists created the chief and the councils, and they don't want to. They have a corruption problem. But I do know the natives do want to work with the Europeans and, you know, the Canadians basically that live here and were born here. And I feel the same way as Micmac. I don't have any problem with finding solutions together, because I really don't think the chiefs are going to have our best interest in mind.
Gordon, when you say you want to introduce some things involving Native American people, what are you talking about? What do you mean?
Okay, so the first thing, I hope people really recognize how, I don't know, this is like a glitch in the matrix, I think. And I hope they recognize how powerful this is and can be for people to get on board and take part. Because just in the beginning, with the Constitutional Convention ideology that I put out there, that's inclusive of the Native tribes and representatives from all the different Native tribes across. So that's the first time in the history of this landmass that's been built on fraud that they're welcomed to take part in building the structure to move forward. Literally take part in the governing body, which they don't now. The chief and councils, you know, that's a fraudulent system. And they don't really, you know, most of them, I won't say all, but some might do some for the people, but most don't. But two key things that come to mind for me is right away the Indian Act and the status cards. And both of them, and it's not about taking away from people, but it's about getting us all on the level playing field and all on an even standing. And I'd rather, before I make my own assessments and judgments, because it's not about me, it's about the people, I would rather have the conversations with the natives that get involved with this, and we can actually build the platform for them that really resonate with their people. I don't want to take a jump and just say, oh, I'm going to do this. I don't even know. You know, I'm admitting that I don't even know all of the stuff that they deal with and so on and so forth. So I want them to take part in building their part of this whole party. But those are a couple things right away. The Indian Act is a mess. That's caused a lot of problems. That's what led to the chief and council, which is a colonial governing system, which is not typically how they used to govern their tribes. The status card, you know, they believe there's benefits to it because, you know, you save taxes, but the trade-off was given the authorities use of the land, and taxes in and of itself, particularly taxes on people's income, that's fraud anyway. So why do you need a status card? If we're going to get on a level playing field and taxes are going to be, that system is going to be redesigned, the status card is not going to be necessary.
When you say that, Gordon, I think you said Native American people are not participating in the government. What do you mean by that?
What do you mean by not participating in the government? Well, they don't have really any say. The way it is right now, they don't really have any say. They have their meetings, the chiefs and councils, or things like AFN or these organizations, but I'm talking about the people. I'm not talking about the people that are getting all the money from the government, and most of the time it doesn't get distributed amongst the people. I'm talking about the people.
Native American people are banned from running for office?
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying, with the Constitution, they don't have any say in the government. The government's decided to pass all these bills and acts. The government passed the Indian Act. The natives didn't okay that. The government just passed that. They're treating them like they're some sort of a slave or whatever. They just passed, same as us. They pass all these acts and bills and statutes, and we're just supposed to abide by whatever rules that they make up. So they're not having a real say in it in that manner.
The government is elected. I mean, these are elected representatives that people have elected that are putting these things in place.
No, that's not true. You elect them, but that whole process is fraud. When these people come knocking on your doors during campaigns and they're telling you they're going to represent you and they're going to represent your voice, they're lying, because they don't. Because what did they do? The very first thing they do when they do get selected is they swear an oath to the crown. And who do they work for? They work for the Parliament, the corporate entity of Canada, Inc. That's where the responsibility lies. And then where's their next responsibility lie? It lies to the party via party lines. And the whip keeps them in tow. And they can't step outside of what the party line is, or they're going to get in trouble and all that kind of thing. They do not work for the people. And you can go and look at the Little Child case from 1990 in Alberta, and the judge clearly stated, and that was the first Native representative as an MP in Ottawa, Wilton Littlechild, and he ran on the promise to go against the GST, and he voted for the GST. And the constituents of that area, I think 1,100 out of 1,700 took him to court, or attempted to take him to court for lying to them. And the judge clearly stated that there was no accountability, legal accountability, for the MP to his constituents. His accountability was to the Parliament. So there was no case. So that is evidence right there in the court system in this landmass they call Canada. These people do not work for you. And if they were responsible to you, then how come we can't hold them accountable? They get free reign for the whole 4 years or whatever term of office before the next election. And that's what the judge said in his findings also. And you can go look that up. He also said the only thing that anybody can do is vote for somebody else in the next election. So they get 4 years to do whatever they want under the guise of being representatives of the people. That's the fraud. That's a lie. And that's actually in the criminal code. That's a crime.
Oh, they're definitely committing crimes. And they have been for a long time. We have been conditioned with a like 5th generational style warfare. Trauma based. They do it in many ways, and with wars is one thing, and then there's unsuccessful medical interventions. I'll just put it that way. But these are all crimes. If meat is harming someone, they'll pull it from the shelf. But when a needle does harm, they keep giving the needle. I mean, there's no accountability. There's no stops. Nobody's stopping it. So we've got a crime situation.
I'd argue with you there, Paul, that it should be people's choice as to whether they do something like that.
Yeah.
So to that point, it can be people's choice, but when you're not given the proper informed information to give your consent, then what is a choice?
Yeah.
And I will challenge that, because none of these, and we'll talk about the COVID vaccines, because that's what Paul's referring to, I'm sure, and there's many others. But I personally, and along with many other people in this country, filed information with the police to have investigations done, not into the fact that the vaccines were, all that conspiracy theory stuff that people think, which I know is not conspiracy theory, but nonetheless, just for informed consent laws that exist within Canada now being broken because nobody was given informed consent. And then 3 years later, when I went back to the same office, one of the 12 that I served in Nova Scotia, and I asked him what the progress was on that file number, you know what the progress was? Absolutely zero. And I said, I purposely brought this information in here, bow tied with all the laws and everything that was being broke, and I asked for an investigation to be done. And they filed it away as information. They didn't even open it into an investigation. So people can say, yeah, you could have a choice, and a fair choice. If anybody out there knew, I would challenge that if they knew that this could cause all of the different adverse reactions that are listed, 9 pages just in Pfizer alone, up to and including death, I would submit for sure that a lot more people would have chosen not to take that. Some still would, no question about it. Some are still going to believe in the system and all that. But when you actually see that information, I would challenge that a lot more people would not take that shot.
How are you supposed to know what the side effects of something that hasn't been tested might be?
But the crime is claiming safe and effective.
The Pfizer documents have been out for years. The Pfizer documents have been out for years. 9 pages of adverse reactions that are coming true today. I'll tell you something. Recently, and this shows guilt to me, and you can take it however you want, but there's a politician in Nova Scotia, and I will go on her page quite often and call to account. I do this a lot. Not threatening or anything like that. I just make statements and challenge the narratives or what have you. Anyway, she made a big statement, a big post a few weeks ago about helping her husband in his clinic, giving people the shots for the flu and this and that and the COVID. And, she's done this in years past and so on and so forth. So I told her, I commented and I said, okay, so as you're obviously well educated within this, I'm sure you're giving people the informed consent. And I'm sure that you're going to tell them you know, the ingredients that are in these shots and what possible adverse reactions could come from each of these ingredients. And then what possible adverse reactions could come from the combination of these ingredients. And then what possible adverse reactions could come from what medication you may already be on that could counteract with these ingredients in these shots. Anyway, that was fine. Another nurse came on there, and we had a very respectful diatribe back and forth. And she was sticking up for the system, and I was still explaining the informed consent laws were being broken. And I put up some of the laws, informed consent laws in Canada, but it was a respectful conversation. And what happened? The politician removed the post. Now, here's a respectful diatribe between two individuals that both are from Nova Scotia. This is a politician in Nova Scotia. What is the issue with allowing these people to have this open conversation, which other people can read and perhaps learn and educate themselves? Why would you have to remove that post altogether?
This is only one area. They do it with food. They don't tell you if there's GMO. We want to know. That's informed consent. I want to be able to choose. I prefer GMO, and I prefer 3D printed chicken. You know, I wouldn't have it any other way, but I want to know it's there. I want informed consent. You see what I did there? Eh?
Yeah.
Chicken in their soup.
But I mean, I want cloned meat. I mean, how am I supposed to find it if they don't label it? But this is a silly way of looking at just another area of our issues here. That's another crime.
Yeah, there's lots of crimes. And to your point about the consent and about having the choice, Brandon, when I served the documents to the new minus RCMP, and I took a video, it's on my BitChute channel that I haven't been doing for a few years. But anyway, he said the same kind of thing to me. He said, well, when the corporation tells me I have to go get these shots to maintain my employment, and I go to the clinic and get these shots, he said, isn't that me giving my consent? I said, yeah, but that's not informed consent. And then I went on to ask him, did they tell you about all the ingredients that were in these shots and the possible adverse reactions up to and including death? And of course they didn't. So that's what informed consent is. And when you're not given the true informed consent and you're just told it's safe and effective, and it's been proven, people can argue till we're blue in the face. It's been proven, and I've seen people, I know people that have lost loved ones and are suffering with severe adverse reactions from this shot that are getting gaslit in the hospital. So safe and effective is a lie. And if it was safe and effective, why would the Canadian government had to put together so-called vaccine policy where they're supposed to give money back to the people that they never did anyway? And why would the companies such as Pfizer and Moderna have some sort of immunity from being sued if it was so safe and effective?
Yeah. And this is just we're tipping the iceberg here.
my point is that banning these things that I think we can all agree with here are bad, I don't think is the solution. That the solution isn't to ban them. The solution is to go about practicing something like informed consent, saying, for example, making it illegal for a workplace to get involved in the personal health decisions of individuals. Like they seem to have claimed that we seem to have lost health autonomy during COVID.
Yes.
And to do,
but when did I
hear that a health decision for an individual is an individual's right. It is not the right of the government. It is not the right of the community. It is not the right of the employer. It is the right of the parent for the child and for the individual who's a age majority.
And they should.
I agree with that, and I would say when did I say anything about banning anything? Where do I say anything about banning anything? The only thing I said in there about any of that stuff was that I would be opening up actual studies to prove the efficacy of these things, and in the meantime there'd be a moratorium until that was done. That's what my platform said. I never said anything about banning anything.
That wasn't directed at you. I think
Paul No, I just want to clarify for people in the audience that that's not what I've ever said. And you're right, it should be up to the people. But what happened, the government forced it, and then the government put it down to all the business owners, and then the business owners forced it, and then when the push comes to shove and people want to go after somebody, they have to go at the first person, and it's a business owner before the government. So the governments are the ones getting off the hook, but that's where it all came from in the beginning.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with both of you because I would like the government to be out of that. If someone gets harmed and it's got to be a civil case, if there's injury, you should be able to sue, and the company should fail if they're hurting people.
Yeah.
But the government shouldn't pay for it because that's like an indirect. When they say it's free, it's really an indirect tax. They're stealing the money, and but all of them, I looked at the ingredients and I don't see anything in there that's healthy.
You can call poison control and check all the ingredients, and poison control will give you an awful explanation of the ingredients that are in there.
On a spiritual level, I consider this evidence how powerful we are and how a threat we are in full capacity. That they want to inject aluminum into a 1-day-old baby because they're so dangerous with full capacity. With what God gave them, they got to put DNA in there, so they alter your DNA and fuck with it. Whoops, did I say that? Oh my!
Your podcast, I think you're allowed to do that.
But from what I've seen, they should all be terminated. But I agree with you. We shouldn't be a dictatorial thing. We should it's dictatorial to make people pay for it and then tell them they're free. That's manipulation. And protecting the companies and allowing like Campbell's to put 3D meat. Like these are all crimes to me because it only leaked through. The truth is coming out right now, and it's really overwhelming because it's everywhere. The glyphosate spraying in the forest doesn't make any sense. This hurts the fish even in water, and the animals and the trees, the foliage and the food for the animals there. So they're poisoning if you want to go live off grid, the deers are going to be all poisoned. So, I mean, they're really covering their bases, but we're witnessing a crime. And the policy on your platform deals with all of it, moratoriums, check for efficacy, get the government out of it, make them liable, these companies' liability, these companies should fail. Campbell's should fail. It should go under. Now that we know that what they're doing in their food, they're no longer credible and they're criminal.
I mean, at the very least, it should be labeled. At the very least.
Transparency is the key here.
And frankly, I think if they had to label it, they wouldn't be doing it.
Exactly.
People would be like, this was grown in a petri dish? I'll pass, thank you. I mean...
But I mean, you're a chef, so you would never put these ingredients in your food. I've eaten at your house, so I know that I'm not eating, a glyphosate, or it's just I know it's healthy, and nobody naturally prepares unhealthy, dangerous meals for their families unless they want to do harm. But the corporations in this fascism, because that's what it is, the corporation and governments are made these dirty, ugly deals for profit. It's all greed based, and Gordan's platform eliminates that. Eliminates greed.
You mentioned something earlier in the podcast, which I was hoping you could elaborate a little bit for me. You said that you thought the rule of the federal government was illegal or illegitimate. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to. When you go to the party website and when you click the X off that first introductory page and you see the first page behind that, if you scroll down to the bottom of that page, you'll see a book in a PDF format called Ho Canada, written by Russell Rogers Smith. And he actually worked with the federal government back in the early 1900s. He was a big player there trying to get things correct. There was actually some severe constitutional concerns within the federal government back at that point in time, but of course they've never gotten addressed. And also, there's a YouTube video there that kind of surmises that book in about 45 minutes. It's called Canada the Illusion. So, to give you a brief explanation, 1867, they say Canada was founded as a sovereign nation. What actually took place in 1867 was Canada remained a colony of the UK government, UK Parliament, whatever, and it became a dictatorship run by the Governor General. It was a dictatorship because the Governor General could make the laws with or without the advice of the Privy Council, which would come from the people acting in the roles of the government. So if he can make the laws with or without the advice of the Privy Council, he was a sole authority, meaning he was a corporate soul. That book and that video goes through all that. Canada has never had a corporation or a constitution. The BNA Act that they say is a constitution is actually nothing more than a corporate constitution to show how the corporation should run. Separation of powers between provinces and feds and all this. There's nothing in that document at all that talks about the rights of the people, anything along them lines whatsoever. So after that, in 1901, Queen Victoria passed away on January 22nd. And before she passed away in 1893, there's what's called the Statute Law Revision Act. In the Statute Law Revision Act, she repealed Section 1 and Section 2 of the BNA Act. Section 1 was the enacting clause, which basically nullifies the whole document when it was repealed. Section 2 was the clause where heirs or successors to her throne would continue to have authority over the landmass they call Canada. By repealing that, there was no successors, no power or authority to the successors or heirs to her throne after her death. So she died on January 22nd, 1901. That effectively would have ended the control of the UK monarchy. But then we moved ahead to 1931, the Statute of Westminster, and in that document, it basically gave all the lands that were held in the UK back to the provinces. So the provinces had all the authority. So what should have taken place at that time was all the provinces should have had their own constitutional conventions to validate the provincial governing authority within the people and so on, and they never done that. So this ruse has continued on because nobody was aware. Nobody really knew on a massive scale what was taking place. So 1947, William Lyon Mackenzie King wrote a new letters patent to give power to King George. But William Lyon Mackenzie King, as the prime minister at that point in time, never had no authority to do so. King George never had no authority to do so. 1952, after King George's death, they did this royal style and titles document, giving power and authority to Queen Elizabeth. But nobody had the authority to give her power and authority. Exactly. And then you move ahead again to 1982 with the whole Canada Act and the Charter and all of that foolishness. And the whole ruse there, people would look at that like it was an attempt to give people rights, but it wasn't an attempt to give people rights. It was an attempt to validate the authority of the federal government by getting the consent of the provincial governments. And what happened? In order to do so, you would have to get a unanimous consent from all of the provinces. That did not happen because Quebec did not agree. So how did they get around that? Of course, with legalese and their magic, just do whatever they want. They decided that the Supreme Court could make a ruling, and they decided at the Supreme Court that it did not have to be unanimous consent. So basically, they are forced in Quebec into confederation, and then given authority to the federal government. So the federal government, really, since the conception in 1867, has never actually had any lawful authority to rule over the people within this landmass. But they've done it because they're just the people. It's always been there, social contracts. And people say, where do they get their authority? A democracy is based on the consent of the governed. And I would posit, where is the consent of the governed? There is no constitution that was ratified by the people. There is no constitution that was unanimously agreed upon by the provinces and territories. So there is no consent of the governed. So then people will say, well, voting is consent. Voting is consent in a sense, except for the fact that it's a fraud, because they're telling you that they're representing you. Meanwhile, they swear their oaths to a foreign monarch.
Yes.
and they work for the parliament. And even to go a little bit backwards again, with the monarch, King Charles is a fraud, Queen Elizabeth was a fraud, the Windsor family's a fraud. That is not even the true monarchy. But if you go back to 1688 and you look at the UK Bill of Rights, the monarchy never had no power or authority at all, even in the UK. They could not act outside of the UK Parliament. They couldn't make any laws. They couldn't do anything outside of the UK Parliament since the 1688 Bill of Rights in the UK. So if they don't have authority there, why is our government? And they did it again with King Charles. They did another Royal Title and Styles Act to give authority to King Charles in 2024. But it's all a fraud.
It is a fraud. And, you know, in 2022, when she had her Jubilee, she's supposed to forgive all debts and share the wealth with everybody, all of us. We all should have got a check. That's what's supposed to happen 50 years, every Jubilee of a royal. So she wasn't really the queen, and she didn't fulfill that Jubilee, that oath that she made before God when she was ascended to the throne. So that happened in 2022. So that's not a long time ago, a couple of years ago.
And she probably couldn't fulfill that, Paul, because she was a fraud to begin with.
Exactly.
And she didn't actually have the lawful authority to fulfill that.
Exactly.
So
evidence right there.
I agree, Gordon, with you that constitutionally in Canada, things could definitely be better. Things could be a lot better, in fact. But I'm not sure I agree with you that the government is a fraud. And this is
That's okay. You're free to have your opinion, but the documents prove it, and it's the government's documents.
Yeah. So I don't think the documents are important, and I'll tell you why. So you made the point that there needs to be consent of the people, but I don't think that's the case. In many different forms of government, you don't have consent of people, but you still have legitimate rule. It happens through monarchies and kings, and happens all throughout time. Democracy is a very new form of government, and I agree that you want to have consent of people, but I don't think that's a prerequisite of being legitimate.
It definitely is a prerequisite. If you understand simply what democracy means, they say we have a democracy. They're always saying we're defending our democracy. Democracy in and of itself is based on the consent of the government, of the governed. Democracy is not a monarchy. A monarchy is a completely separate form of governance. Just like in the United States, the United States, the president, he goes on all the time about protecting American democracy. America was never built on a democracy. It was built on a republic. And the republic is a separate form of government than a democracy. This is how they get people. It's all ruses.
Right now, we're not talking about whether a democracy is legitimate. We're talking about whether a group of people are legitimate to lead. And whether somebody is legitimate to lead isn't dependent on the type of government.
It absolutely is. Where do they get their legitimacy from then? Where do they get their authority from?
A group of a country who has authority to lead the country is given that authority by people not overturning it. They're given the authority because they're able to do that. And so you have to be able to maintain authority over the people within that nation, but you also have to be able to prevent neighboring nations from overtaking you. And in either situation, a government will be overthrown and a new one installed. So, for example, if you look at what happened between Palestine and Israel, Palestine elected a terrorist government through a democratic process. And Israel, after the terrorist government decided to bring terrorism to its neighbors, Israel said, "No, we're not going to do this." And it went in and it took the government out. That was a legitimate process.
That's not correct. That's not correct at all. Actually, Hamas, as everybody says, is a terrorist organization, and I'm not defending anything that they do, but Hamas was created by Israel, and the reason Hamas was created by Israel was to get rid of the Palestinian Liberation Organization and Yasser Arafat. And no, I'm not defending Yasser Arafat, but the PLO was what initially was the governing body in Palestine, and then Israel backed Hamas to make sure that they got control of Gaza. So now Gaza was split, PLO in the West Bank, and Hamas running the Gaza Strip. So Israel created that mess using Hamas to break down the PLO, and Israel is actually the one that is creating the problems in there, because Israel still funds Hamas through Qatar, and Israel also is behind what happened in October 7th because they allowed it to take place. They didn't stop it. Israel could have had their fighter jets in the air in seconds, and they allowed somebody on a paraglider to get through. That's not even remotely possible in the real world. The state of Israel that's being run right now is not even Jews. It's Zionist, Ashkenazi. They're Jewish converts from Khazaria way back when, and they're the ones that are the evil in the world, not the Jewish people. The Zionists are the evil in the world.
I'm not talking about the evils right now. Whether a government is evil or not, I don't think is important as to whether it's legitimate. I mean, it's a tragedy for humanity when it is, but whether they're legitimate or not, I think is another question. And I'm not sure I agree with. I don't know what you're saying about what's going on in the Middle East, but I would also say that it's not important. It doesn't matter whether it's a puppet government or not. The fact of the matter is that Israel was able to go in, and other nations didn't stop them. And Palestine did not have the military force to hold them back, and that's how that ends. So, I mean, putting aside this happens other places. We see this happening with Russia and the Ukraine playing out right now as well. I mean, it's the process of how powers come to be and fall, and I think I would argue that in your case, you're looking to legal documents in order to show legitimacy. But who writes legal documents? Legal documents are a construct of humanity. They're a construct of people. They're not God-given, and it doesn't indicate power. And just because you can find contradictions in legal documents doesn't mean that indicates legitimacy. That the legal documents, I think, are the opposite. They're what's used to justify power, not to give it.
What I'm saying is the federal government has no lawful authority to rule over us, and we're allowing them to destroy our society. We're allowing them to destroy our livelihood. We're allowing them to destroy our lives, and they have no lawful authority to do so. And the only options that we have to remove them is a violent scenario, which I don't support, because I don't think that's going to create a victory anyway. And I think that plays into the hands of what's going on around the world. We are in a point in time, we're actually lucky that this government is not lawful, and it's up to the people to decide if they want to take this path to change it. And they left a loophole. They left a back door, so we can create a political party, and the people can get behind this. And if it really matters, and the votes matter, and they don't cheat like they do all the other times, and the people win, then we can do this lawfully, peacefully, and get our lives back and put the people back in control for the first time in history. The people being in control. And then it will be a lawful system, because it will be based on a constitution that is ratified by the people, that the people are in control of everything that's taking place. And if we don't do anything, people can think whatever they want. We've got a few years left, and they're going to implement the digital ID. They're going to implement the digital currencies. They're going to have total control over every aspect of your life. So I'm not the enemy here. Whether people agree with the information I put out there or not, I'm not the one that is mandating vaccines on people. I'm not the one that's creating homelessness. I'm not the one that's helping to create the addiction problems. I'm not the one that's throwing people in the streets, that's not caring about any of these issues. Meanwhile, they're filling their pockets, making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, besides all the insider trading deals and everything else that's going on, while the public suffer. I'm not the enemy. I'm just the one that's trying to put information out there for the people to see, and they can understand and comprehend and look up and verify for themselves the documents that I talk about. And we are the power. We do everything here. These people are nothing more than parasites, and all they do is steal from us. Everything that's ever created is created by us. All the businesses are by us. All the work is by us. Everything is by us. And all they do is take, and now pass more laws to take away our rights, to take away our rights, to take away our rights, to take away our rights. And enough is enough. We live in a corporatocracy. The police do not protect and serve. The police work for the corporation of the government. That's factual information that you can look at. As I've said before, in the Appropriation Act, the RCMP is paid for by the federal government. They don't protect us. The courts don't protect us because they're corporate entities. The governments don't represent us, and they don't care about anything about the people. It's a worldwide narrative that they're implementing, and they're nothing more than puppets. And we have to do something about it.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, there was a crime that took place. I can't remember the year, but like when Queen Victoria died, she gave all the power to the provinces. So the federal government had no power to rejoin with the monarchy. They had and the monarchy was even usurped. So even the monarchy isn't legitimate. So that's another problem altogether. But every country is dealing with the same kind of situation here. And greed is a big problem with all these corporations, the food that we're eating. All this is based on greed. And, that has to be dealt with. There's nothing wrong with being profitable, but be profitable because you have a good product. And anger and division is the feeling that makes your mouth work faster than your mind. So we're not getting anywhere by fighting. And that's why we're here today to iron sharpens iron. And that's what's important. That we all care about our fellow man, or we wouldn't even be doing this right now. I would much rather be just playing piano in a Chinese restaurant and get free food. I would love to do that, but we're in a dire situation right here. And I do love the platform. I would recommend everyone reading it. It's in the comments. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is, to me, that's just justice. Accountability. Freezing their bank accounts. We need to restore the power to the provinces that Queen Victoria gave us, and let loose of the crown of King George with the big red bloody painting that you put side by side. Looks like Baphomet, for God's sakes. I mean, just total evil right in your face. He's got a countdown clock to 2030. So that gives us one more election to maybe save our country. Gaddafi tried to save his country, and look what happened to him. So, there are consequences to heroism, but the main thing that we must do is unite. We must get rid of the division. Don't let them make you pick sides anymore. If someone wants to be an anti-vax, let them. Don't hate them. Get rid of that hate, because that is a part of their generational warfare. We're under warfare. In our skies, they're spraying us from the skies. Having measured the water, I did a whole show on this and talked with the PPC leader Maxime, and he admitted to it that it was a government military project between all North American continent. So everyone's in on it. They're all in on it. They're doing it everywhere, and it's not being stopped. Even though we know about it, we know about Campbell's soup. We know about all these things, and it's not being changed. It's not happening. So that's where we need the unity and working together and just uniting, just accepting the things that we cannot change. We really have to do that, and we have to change what we know that we can change, and we can. We have great minds that could make curriculums that allow brilliant children to just fly through school. We want them to graduate with apprenticeships, plumbers and nurses and doctors, and right out of high school, just without any indoctrination, just learning the skills. First 6 years of school, they could find out what the kid is good at, and then utilize that and let them excel in that direction. If they need mathematics, let them, learn what they need to learn to become who God intended them to be.
What is foreign interference when you think about foreign interference? Because you want to say that you believe that the government may be legitimate, and I'll disagree with that, but nonetheless, moving forward, none of these people actually are doing anything anyway. They're just following narratives. They're just following orders from so on and so forth. That's all they're doing. We're dealing with the United Nations. We're dealing with the WEF. We're dealing with the WHO. They have all these meetings with the G20 and the G7 and everything. And these guys go over there on our dollar that they steal from us, call it a salary. They go over there and they make all these decisions to benefit this worldwide agenda where you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. And then they come home and they start implementing the narratives and start passing laws and anti-Semitism laws and anti-hate laws, and all these things already exist. They talk about needing bail reform and this stuff. They don't need bail reform. They need accountability for the judges that are letting these people out in the street and recommitting crimes. I have a friend who is in jail, has been in jail since April, and no victim at all in this crime, none whatsoever. And he can't even get bail because they're painting him out to be something that he's not, based on a bunch of lies. No victim. And I'm watching other people getting bail and committing crimes. So the accountability again, these judges need to be held accountable, but they're not held accountable. There's no way we can hold any of them accountable. When the police overstep their bounds and do something unlawful to people, they're not held accountable. Politicians aren't held accountable. And even if the government was legitimate, the fact remains is there's no accountability for any of them, and the people are getting crushed. And we have got to stop this. End of story. But the bottom line is, whether people want to agree or disagree, they are not legitimate. They do not have no lawful authority. There's nowhere that they get their authority. Why do they have the authority to tell you what to do with your life? You are not a slave to them. What gives them the authority to enslave you? It's no different than a plantation with different slave masters. It's no different than the story of the Jones plantation. And in that story, the only option that he gives the slaves is an opportunity to pick him or his cousin to run the plantation. Doesn't change the plantation, doesn't change the life of the slaves. It just changes the owner at the top. It gives people the illusion of choice. What I'm trying to accomplish here is give people an opportunity that this is really about change. Well, that's why the platform is what it's about. And the people that don't take part in this election and in the politics, I understand that, and I understand that for a long time because I'm apolitical. However, politics are paying attention to us, and it's about time we pay attention to politics. This is an opportunity for us to take the power back lawfully, peacefully, and it's up to the people to engage. And if they choose not to engage, then I'm at a loss. I don't know what more I can do to offer the people this.
Yep. And you say that right in your policy here, right near the bottom. Domestic policy, all acts and legislations will be repealed that derogate one's rights or create victimless crimes. We will separate the political system from the justice system and abolish the Senate. See,
100%.
Simple, simply written. It's not complex or complicated. It makes perfect sense. It really is about righting the wrong, and that's really what the divine masculine does. He wants to right the wrong. He wants to get the air conditioner in the window. He wants to fix the ball bearing in her car.
The point that I was trying to make is that whether a government's legitimate should not hinge on whether we like what they're doing or not. That it's not fair to say that that there's crimes going on, that things are terrible, and therefore they're illegitimate. That's
not what I'm saying. I'm not saying therefore they're illegitimate. I'm saying there's crimes that are being committed, and it doesn't matter if they're legitimate or not legitimate. They're still committing crimes. However, we are blessed in the fact that they are not legitimate. That's the fact. And literally, we should be able to go and arrest all these people for the crimes that they're committing, but we can't. Why can't we? Because they have bodyguards that wear bulletproof vests and guns, and they're called PPS officers or OPP officers or RCMP officers or so on and so forth.
If we get into power, we can arrest them, and it doesn't matter what the laws are. If people vote us into power and they accept that power, we can do those things.
That's the concept. That's exactly what the concept is.
as
Yes.
long as when we do things, people do not overthrow what's going on, we are acting legitimately. And that's what I'm saying. The government's acting legitimately because people are not overthrowing them. They're going about their daily lives. They're acting in normal ways. We are not in the middle of a revolution. There's no question over who the governing body is. And honestly, if we're not careful, Canada's going to disappear. We're going to be a part of a world government where,
Yes.
we're almost there with our economic system. You could almost say that in a certain way we're bound to a world order through our economic system that our local governance doesn't have control over. And so, I mean, but if we're not careful, that's going to go even further.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
Yeah, and who signed over the Bank of Canada to the IMF? It was Pierre Trudeau.
Elliott. Yep, he did that.
Therefore, again, these people are nothing more than puppets because who's running the show? The people that control the money. And Mayor Amschel Rothschild said that way, way back in the 1800s. He does not care who makes the laws. He controls the finances. And that's why I said in this platform, a lot of people will say that this seems extreme, but taking back the Bank of Canada from the IMF. And as far as the debt goes, we don't owe that debt because Pierre's the one that signed that over. That's not our debt. If they want the debt collected, they can take it from the government, period.
I don't know if that's such a good idea.
It may not be a good idea, but it's necessary to fix the problem. And I'm the one putting myself on the line here by friggin' challenging this system to this degree. And I recognize, like he said earlier about Gaddafi and what he tried to do in Libya and so on and so forth, the risks that I'm stepping into. But somebody has got to step into it. And I don't care, because what I know in my heart is I am not the criminal. They are.
Yeah.
And I'm just taking this path to try to, hopefully we're at a tipping point in the evolution of humanity that enough damage is being done right now that people will see it's time for us to stand up. And what I'm trying to accomplish to do is a peaceful, lawful mechanism in which we can do so. Because otherwise, the only thing we're going to be able to do is physically attempt to arrest these people. And I will never use the term overthrow, because that is going to be throwing me down a whole nother rabbit hole of sedition and all that bullshit. So I say arrest the criminals. And the fact is that the puppets acting as politicians are in fact criminals.
And in my perspective is a little bit different. I think it's illegitimate because I think the Dominion voting machines can be hacked. So we have no government. They all four parties that were on TV in the provincial debate all voted for Bill 67, which goes against parental rights, and it is teaching the children, it's critical race theory. It's hate white people. It is actually a war against white people that's happening all over the world, and they all voted for it. And Dominion voting machine picks the winner, not us. That's my perspective. I could be wrong, but I know in the United States, it's already been proven that they can put a code in there and they can alter the results. So I don't trust anything but a paper ballot. And with the federal government, the problem with that is it is already illegitimate because it didn't have the power to, become a commonwealth. They had no power to do that. That was a crime. The Bank of Canada used to give interest-free money to the provinces and the cities, interest-free. There was no food banks, no home housing programs. We didn't have any problems. We never had more than $50 million in debt. That was Pierre Elliott Trudeau in 1974. So they've all done a little bit incrementally to lead to this point. And with the mail-in ballots, the federal government was stolen. I don't think they got 3 seats. The Liberal government were just, it's impossible that they won. They had to have cheated. This was a Kathleen Wynne situation where Trudeau was just absolutely criminal, openly calling us names. And if we didn't go along with this experiment. So it's all illegitimate. And yes, I, like Gordan, would prefer a non-violent resolution. I want remedy. I want justice. I don't want this to happen again. I want to get people that don't live like us, that hate dogs. These people that are all working at Tim Hortons, they can carry guns. A guy was arrested with a gun, no charges laid. It was an illegal gun. for a Sikh guy. You know, they can carry the Kazan swords legally. They can't get arrested for that, but we can't protect ourselves in our own home. So we've got a criminal situation where the bad guys are in charge. So we want to find solutions, remedy, bring people together, and realize that this is our last chance. We're going to lose everything if we don't do something. And I don't want people to be hurt. I don't want the protests are pointless. They're not going to do anything. All they're going to do is get you put on a list. We've already seen what they've done to people donating through Give, Send, Go. They stole all their money. They froze all their bank accounts. These people, you know, had children to feed. That was a crime. That was absolutely showed. They revealed themselves. They revealed their criminality and their willingness to participate in wars that we don't agree with, using our money without consent. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. Go ahead, Brandon.
I remember I was speaking with during the Ottawa protests. I was speaking with a lawyer there that was protesting, and he made a really good point. He said so the money was seized that was given, and I said, yeah, it was seized, it was taken to the Ottawa protest. He goes, well, how much was taken? It was a lot of money, like 10 million or something like that. And he goes, so he said, what you're telling me is that, you know, a building around this spot that could house a permanent protest might cost about $2 million, maybe more, maybe 5. So he's like, so we're here in the parking lot and on the streets because the money that we had for organizing a protest and purchasing land for ourselves to maintain that protest was taken from us. I said, well, yeah, now that you put it that way, that's exactly what's going on. And so,
yep. You know, and protesting is a peaceful way to express a vision or a point of view, or, you know, and it should have worked, but they revealed.
Well, got rid of O'Toole.
I don't know. They're all in on it, you know, like it doesn't matter even what party they're in. They're all in on it. We have fascism, Marxism, communism, and socialism, all in different rainbow colors, like their pride flag. They're all in on it. They're all bought. They could be compromised in a way where they're afraid for their own lives. I've heard that about Americans with AIPAC and being threatened. And I mean, Trump got $230 million from AIPAC. So, I mean, he's one of them. He's not who we think he is. And that's okay. That, you know, he is doing some good, and I'm glad for that. But we have nobody here. We don't have the police. We don't have the RCMP. So all we can do at this point is unify. We really have to put our differences aside and just move forward in love. And love is the key, you know, it really is, because it's, you know, and if you have trouble loving your enemy, just start with the mirror. Just look at the mirror and forgive that person first, and you'll be able to forgive anybody after that. You know, that's your worst enemy. I know that for a fact that I have been my worst enemy. You know, when even drinking when I was young, you know, things that we do, we're probably all lucky we survived our teen years, because things were different. We were a lot more free. We could spend all night outside, you know, or until the lights went on. You know, there was no fear. It went in my childhood. And now there's danger. They're endangering our lives with these people that don't think like us. They come from cultures that are not like us. We don't cut people's heads off and kill dogs or beat our wives. These are not acceptable things. These are not compatible. And any government forcing this on us is an act of war. And look at Iraq. We bombed and we conquered Iraq, killed millions of people, and now they've made marriage with 9-year-olds legal. And now in Syria, they're killing all the Christians. Those were our guys. There was the what Obama called them, the freedom fighters or whatever have you. But now they're killing all the Christians. all with our money. So our government is compromised. There's no doubt. And they have betrayed us. Absolutely no doubt, because they're all playing games with us. If you watch Parliament, it's absolutely like a kindergarten, banging on desks, heckling,
Yeah.
absolutely immature behavior. They play this game where the opposition tells the truth. You're stealing this and you're doing this. And so they're revealing the truth, but they're not stopping it.
I remember as a child, they used to, on television, I don't know if they still do. I haven't had a television in my adult life, but as a child in the family home, sometimes late at night, I would flip and I would watch what was going on in the legislature. And I heard them arguing back and forth, and I saw the way they were behaving. And as a child, I felt embarrassed. I felt embarrassed watching what our decision makers, how they were behaving. It was embarrassing.
Well, it's worse today. I get personally offended when I see them in there laughing and joking and name calling each other while people are suffering in the streets, and they're making jokes about it. And they think it's funny. And people are losing their homes, and winter's here, and we got all the homeless and all this stuff. If you want to take the example of Libya, we're a wealthy nation, and when you remove poverty, if you stop giving all of the wealth away to corporations, and you start distributing that amongst the people, when you get rid of poverty, the whole world can change dramatically very quickly. So I mean, there's all kinds of things people can dispute and whatever, but even the conservatives, man, they're His Loyal Majesty's opposition. It's not the people's opposition. His Loyal Majesty's opposition. And they present themselves as they're the fighters for the people, and they're fighting for the people's rights. Most of them have WEF ties, no different than the Liberals. They're not doing anything. They're in the best position of all because they have no responsibility. They can blame everything on the Liberal government, and all they have to do is give lip service to make themselves look good. Pierre talks all the time about, this poor woman that works in this, cafe, and she's struggling, and, he's got his arm around her one hand and taking for a photo op. Meanwhile, he's basically got his other hand in her pocket stealing her money. And he calls it a salary, making $400,000 a year, pretending to care. It's no different than watching the monarchy in England travel down the streets talking about homeless in a gold gilded carriage for, this is ridiculous. And we got to stop allowing this stuff to take place.
Yeah. Robbie, I don't know why Reggae can't comment. He should be able to. Anybody should be able to.
Yeah, I have a friend that messes me, and he wasn't able to comment as well, Paul. I don't know what's going on.
That's weird. Yeah, if you can't comment on Facebook, try the YouTube. I'll put the link there. Oops. Maybe Facebook has I don't know. I don't know. I've never had that before. Never had that before happen. So let me see. Okay, I posted the YouTube link. There is a Rumble link too. I'll add that as well, just in case anyone's having any problems. But yeah, there is no. If they can watch it, they should be able to comment. But my apologies if you can't comment. It's not me. I didn't. All right, what were we talking about?
I hope the people recognize the real actual power here, what we're trying to accomplish, because I pay attention to everything that's going on around the world, and I'm telling you, I do not see anywhere in the world where somebody is trying to organize something that is literally by the people, for the people. It's not somebody that's part of the system that's claiming they want to change the policy or they want to repeal this or do any of these foolish things. It's not somebody that's pretending and they're not going to act. The point of this whole concept of this party ideology for me is to fix the issues at the foundational level. And once we fix them at the foundational level, then lots can change. And I'm not saying that it's an easy road. It's going to be a hard road to even get there, victory wise. And then even at that point, it's going to be a lot of work after that. But as I've said, the whole entire time I've been on this journey, I would much rather go through the hardships of fixing the problem properly than go through the hardships that are coming, regardless if we do anything or not, because hardships are coming without any shadow of a doubt. And it's closer than people think. We could be 2-3 years away from complete, total control over our lives when they get this, which is already being done now in the US, all around the world, with the digital identification, the digital currency on the unified ledger, where they have total control over every aspect of our lives, tokenization, so on and so forth. So this, and when Paul mentioned earlier about, you know, the election, I believe that this is our last kick at the can at this process, because after this election, our voices will be outnumbered by immigration. And immigration is not a liberal issue. Immigration is a UN replacement migration policy. That's foreign interference. And that's happening worldwide, in the UK, in Ireland, in all of the Commonwealth countries. But you want to talk about immigration issues, have a look at Israel. Zero immigration in Israel. Zero. You cannot immigrate to Israel. And if you do, you must be Jewish, and there's a big, long process. But everywhere else in the world is being flooded by Muslims, Indians, so on and so forth, because they're the brooms of the Zionists, and they're the ones that are supposed to do the dirty work.
Japan doesn't open immigration.
Japan's a whole nother issue. They have a massive immigration problem right now too, but they need immigration because GDP is based on population. Their economy is on the verge of collapsing.
Yeah. And I do think that we're like an end game situation here, because this has been going on for 100 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've cut our legs off. It's like what do you call a dog with no legs? Doesn't matter. He's not coming anyway.
Back in the late 1800s, Paul, there's an organization called the Interparliamentary Union, and that's where the globalization actually started. Early 1800s, that's when governments around the world started meeting together to start implementing all the narratives across the world to lead us into this new world order agenda.
Yep. You know, and also they say one world religion as well. And I think I get what they're going to do there, is because what I've done in my research is I can see how they're kind of fighting each other, and okay, who's lying here? And they have conflicts, like the Talmud, the Jews that say they stoned Jesus, and then the Quran says they didn't, that he ascended like Enoch. Basically, they didn't say that, but that's what they said. He didn't know death. He went up to heaven and joined his Father. And the Bible just says he was crucified. So they're all saying something different here. So that's an issue for me, because these are all holy books, right? You shouldn't be lying. I mean, someone's lying. So there's the issue at hand. So what they're going to do is probably come up with the truth, or their truth, and bring everyone together to one religion, because that's one of the things they're going to do, is one world government and one world religion.
The world religion is atheism.
Yeah. Well, or they're gonna bring someone down from the clouds and call him Jesus and fool the world. And I know the technology, like Project Bluebeam, it's amazing, incredible. The Japanese have really cornered that market. If you've ever seen it, just look it up, Project Bluebeam, and just look at what they can do. They can mimic that. They can mimic the second coming. They could do it. They could fulfill the Bible on a like a logistical technology that they have. They just have to utilize it. So they're preparing us. Yes, I think they're endangering our lives. I think that they're bringing in armies to get rid of white Christians. That's their goal. That's the enemy to them. I don't know why. I don't have a problem with white Christians. I'm not a Christian, and I'm not really white, but I still like them. I still I love the Bible. I have issues with it, but I still love most of it. Like, I think a lot of it's very wise. How to be an honorable man, an honorable husband. I don't have a lot of issues with that. I do have an issue, when they say to stone your children if they're disobedient. I think that's a little harsh. But, there are things that I don't agree with. So I can't really put my flag on any religion. But I do find them fascinating. And I do have a very strong faith, like unshakable faith. But I don't have a religion.
That's the key, because religion is no different than politics. Religion's a mechanism of control. And your relationship, and you obviously are in tune with it, but your relationship with God, Creator, whatever you want to call him, that's between you and him. You don't have to go, that doesn't have to be through some church or some religion or anything like that. That's your own personal connection. And religion is just doctrines. And they're like, how can there be 2,000 different Christian denominations, and which one's right? And how are we supposed to figure out which one's right? That's not even talking about the Muslims, the Zionists, or Catholics, or any of these things. Like that's why I think religion is not, there's no basis for a religion. Your relationship is between you and him.
Yeah. And, I want to do shows on this because I think I can help. I can help just by showing exactly where these things are and what they're saying, and my conclusions. I might help other people to get closer to their understanding of how important they are. I mean, you are important. You are a divine soul. And the Creator is in you. The kingdom of heaven is in you. There's a lot of beautiful things that I've come together. The Gita is a beautiful book. I love that book. But they've all come together, and I think I can really help a lot of people to, if you every day I pray with a prayer circle with White Wolf, and we do a daily prayer, and we're praying for everyone, all mankind. We don't see separation here. You have to see, no more tunnel vision. We're all brothers and sisters, different shades of white. We have to respect and honor ourselves, honor our bodies, honor our friends, and work in love, because we don't really have a lot of time left. And I think love and unity is really paramount right now. And we don't want violence. And, it may come to that. We may have to defend ourselves against this army that's here. So, I mean, I hate being in low vibration like that, because we are dealing with a low vibration, and they like us in low vibration. I don't want to bring you there. I want to bring you up. I want to lift you up. I don't want to bring you down. And someone came here, just wanted to say hello to everybody that came. I just saw Norman Blanchford. I saw your Blanchfield. I saw your live earlier, so thanks for joining us here at the Truth Table. As I said earlier, I would recommend reading the platform, joining, telling your friends, because we do have to build alliances. We have to unite. We're not going to agree on everything, but we do agree that we don't want lies anymore. We want transparency. We want to know what's in our food. We don't want you use Latin to hide the bug, that there's bugs in there. We don't want to eat bugs. We should have that sovereign right to say, no, we don't accept this. We don't want it. If we knew where it was, we could just not buy it, and they can go out of business by themselves where they belong. The fact that they're doing it, they don't deserve to have our money and our business. And that's what this party is about. Nationalism, respecting what we have. We had a beautiful country, and it was stolen from us. And we're looking for ways to get it back in the most righteous way that we can. And that takes iron sharpening iron. We can do this. That's why I wanted them both here, Brandon and Gordan, because they're highly intelligent men that actually care and are trying to find ideas and sharing their ideas, and that's the kind of people we need. None of us want to be a leader or the king or anything like that. We don't have those kind of goals, but we do need solutions, and this is a good start. This is something that we can join together and grow. We need to grow. We need to stop picking sides. We can't let them do that anymore. We have to say no to it. You know, we have to honor our neighbors and the Canadians, the Europeans that are here and the natives that are here, the North American people. We could just call us that. That will be fine. Not indigenous and not native. We're all people. Even people from India are natives in that land. And people in Africa are natives in that land. It's just kind of a derogatory term. They're the peoples, African peoples, the North American peoples. And we want to unify with these people and end the Indian Act and make them a part of this country actively, where they can, conserve their lands and protect their lands. And they have shown me that they want to reach out, they want to work together, and we can do it. We just need to find, uh, polarize in one direction and pull everyone in, and that's the only way. And numbers will do it. We can get a petition with 1 million signatures, and we got power. It only takes so many signatures. I mean, that's a direction that you don't have to protest or sign petitions. You sign petitions, they got your name, number, address. They know who's for and who's against them. It's just a way for them to, get it, find out who their friends are. All technology is used against us instead of for us. Sorry, I was rambling again. I tend to do that.
Yeah, I can go on tangents as well.
But I care. That's why I do it. I ramble because I really feel it's important. I do this to Brandon all the time. I don't know why he puts up with me.
I do the same thing. Sometimes on my lives, I get frustrated, and some people are upset that I'm getting frustrated and think that energy is not going to bring people together. But just to clarify, my frustration is because I care, and I'm frustrated at this, at what's going on in this world. And when you talk about leaders, like, I guess the founder or the leader of this party or whatever the case may be, well, what is a true leader? A true leader is a servant of the people. And that's basically what I'm doing. I'm basically going to, again, I'm going to take another, however long it's going to take for me to travel this country and go to all 343 different constituencies to introduce this, to talk to people and all of that kind of stuff. I don't see any of these other politicians doing that without getting the people, I don't see them doing anything to help the people. They're just out there to spread their bullshit stories and so on, and they don't do anything. I find it funny too, I'll mention too, because we were going to, at one point in time, and I don't know for sure if he knew that it was me necessarily, but we were going to have this debate with Max and myself, and then he backed out. And I think that's interesting, and I want to bring that up because he's the same individual that will complain openly quite often about not being included in leadership debates during the election. But by the same token, he's not willing to debate someone like myself about the validity of the system and the information. So I just say you can't suck and blow at the same time.
Yeah.
Anyway, it is what it is. I know that, and I will say too, as you said about numbers, and watch the paradigm shift. When there's 1 million people out of 41 million people in this country that are talking about this, that are involved with this party, and the word is being spread, watch the paradigm shift and watch the reaction of the powers that be, because they see, without any shadow of a doubt in my mind, the people win. No question. I don't know the path. I don't know the timeline. But when they see that the people are getting behind something that's real, that's a threat to their pseudo authority, you watch the paradigm shift and you watch and see what happens, because that's when things are going to start getting a little bit sketchy for me, for myself, for sure.
So, Gordon, can I interrupt you? Did Maxime Bernier say why he wasn't going to come on to you?
No, it was me that he messaged, because I asked him to come on to a debate. At first, I asked him on the show, and he said yes, but the head office had emailed me and saying he declined, which I found really bizarre. But I did ask him about the Privy Council.
Gordon, I think what you said about Maxime Bernier wasn't fair at all, especially considering why we don't know why he didn't come on. I mean, I don't think that's a fair thing to say.
I'm saying that he can argue that he's not included in a leadership debate, but he can decline a debate with me. That's fair.
Yeah, but we don't know why. Let's say he was sick. Okay.
It's true, we don't.
I mean, we don't. If you don't know the reason why he declined, then you don't know that he's declined to because it was you. That's what I'm saying.
I have history with Maxime Bernier, so I'll just explain that. He came to Kingston, Nova Scotia, and he was on tour to promote the PPC party. And I had actually had initial interest in even joining the PPC party. So I went to meet Maxime to see what he was all about. And I asked him at that time simple questions. I said, if you were to become prime minister, what would you do in relation to treason in regards to Trudeau and Freeland? And his answer to me, and I have it on video, if anybody wants to question it, I could go through my phone and find it. His answer to me was, they have a parliamentary investigation committee. And after it went through the parliamentary investigation committee, if they found enough evidence on Trudeau and Freeland, mind you, that then they would send that to the RCMP. And the RCMP will do nothing about it. And the RCMP is paid for by the federal government. The RCMP has also stated with CSIS that we knowingly have people guilty of foreign interference that are actively MPs, and they do nothing about it. So his answer to me that the criminals are going to investigate the criminals, and then the other criminals are going to do a further investigation into the criminals that are being paid for by the criminals they're investigating is absolutely ludicrous.
Using our
and
money.
He also said on Paul's show, and that's why I said to Paul that I would be happy to debate him, the Privy Council has nothing to do with anything. And that's not true. Everything that goes on in this government goes through the Privy Council. The House of Commons is a theater.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it could have been his team.
That may
deal
be,
with his team.
but we don't know why he declined to come on the podcast. I don't think that was fair to say.
Well,
that's your opinion, and you're entitled to it. But I have mine, and I'm entitled to it as well. And I will say he's avoiding because he knows he's part of the fraud, and he's not going to change Canada. Even if he got in power, he's not going to change Canada. He does not talk about the foundational issues. And the biggest foundational issue that we're facing immediately is the Bank of Canada and the digital currency that's going to totally control every aspect of our life. And if people aren't going to talk about these actual facts, as far as fixing the problem, then they're not there to fix the problem. They're just there to continue taking part in the system. And keep in mind, Maxime Bernier has garnered a pension, a lifetime pension from his service prior to in the government. Maxime Bernier is also, under Stephen Harper, the first one to start implementing the agenda for sustainable development. Maxime Bernier was also at a WEF meeting, and his only qualification is that he wasn't there to take part in the meetings. He was there to broker arms deal for the war in Afghanistan, which turns out was nothing more like any other war than a banker's war to rape Afghanistan of resources and try to implement another puppet government that's controlled by the central bankers. So he is not a solution, and that's why he doesn't want to debate, and it's okay. I don't really care. I'm not offended. I just see what the truth is, and I'm not afraid to speak it.
And to be fair, I'd like to add that I deal, like I've had Max on many times, but I deal with his media person. I don't deal with Maxine. So Maxine may not have said no. It might have been his team.
That's fine.
So I don't know. I don't know if they talk to him that much. They just give him an itinerary, and he fulfills it. He did say he would do it, so I would assume it's his board of directors that said no, don't do it. So they may have looked into you because they took a while answering as well. But I would almost exclude Maxine in that decision. I would think his board probably makes all those things for him, what shows he's going to be on, and
I'm sure, and that's fine. I'm not saying that, and people can make their assessments based on. Everybody has the right to their own opinion, and I'm not taking that from them. But I also have the right to mine, and I have the right to back it up with the information that I have to back it up. I find it very interesting that somebody can complain publicly about not being included in leader debates, and at the same time not debate with just an individual. That to me doesn't make sense. Whether it was his decision or not. And I agree, Paul, maybe he didn't make the decision personally.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then he's just following party lines again. And is that going to fix the problem? Not necessarily. So anyway, that's okay. I just thought it was interesting.
I kind of suspect that as well, because one time he was on my show, I had multiple people asking him questions. Kirk Reese and Colin McDonald. I pre-recorded their questions and he answered everything. So it was kind of surprising for me that he declined it, but they still wanted to book him on again, and he did come back. And yeah, you're right, because he did complain about not being on the debates. So I would take it kind of personally because he did answer questions. He answered my questions, right? I wasn't there to debate him. I was just there, like with you, to just educate people on your platform, who you are, what your platform means, how it would change the lives of people. And I like your platform. I like the PPC platform. So yeah, I would be neutral on that. I wouldn't say he did it. He could have done it. They could have looked into you and thought, oh boy, no way. Because you are talking about the crown. You are talking big picture stuff that he probably doesn't want to touch. If he was really, if he knew what was going on and knew he was going against them like Trump, he would know the danger of that.
I know that Maxime Bernier is. I've heard him talk about the constitutional issues when constitutional issues come up, and his standpoint on those is that he doesn't want to touch any of them. And the reason why he says that is because you need a lot of votes to change a constitutional issue, and he doesn't anticipate, actually, if he does get into power, having all the other parties on board with these issues, meaning that if you pass something like that, there's no way to pass something like that legitimately right now for a party like the PPC. And so that's, basically his position has been, let's not go there, because practically speaking, we won't be able to make any of those changes the way things are right now. And so,
right, because he's working in the confines of the system that actually doesn't benefit the people, and I'm not working in the confines of the system to benefit the people. I'm not going to swear an oath to the crown if the people in this party and the candidates in this party get elected. I'm not swearing an oath to the crown. And if we win this election, I'm not taking part in that fraud. That fraud will be stopped. It'd be no different than what's going to happen is everything will be shut down. Basically, it'll look like what it looks like when the government is on vacation. That's when the investigations will take place, and the politicians will be investigated and ultimately arrested for crimes and so on and so forth. And the Constitutional Convention is simply a matter of having representatives from every province, as well as representatives from all the native nations coming together to draft the Constitution for the people. Once that is done, then it goes out to the people for ratification. I'm not working within the confines of this system that's designed to enslave us. And Maxime is going to still work within the system that's designed to enslave us. That's why we're not going to get no benefit from the PPC party. And we're at a timeline where if we don't make significant change, we're in big trouble.
Well, we are in trouble already. I mean, they've got the media, they got the polls, so they can brainwash everyone.
Yep.
So we're really
unlimited resources, 24/7. Like we're up against it. It's a hard road to build things from the grassroots, the ground level. I don't have marketing capabilities. I don't have finances for marketing. I can't advertise. This is the best I can do in the short term, and then see people face to face. I tell everybody, look at the platform, and I tell them to do it with an open mind, because I'm admitting that platform is a bit shocking to people. Because I understand that a lot of them people don't comprehend what I understand about this system. So look at it, but keep an open mind. Ask me questions. Send me emails through the party. I'll answer the questions. I'll deal with the questions. I'll explain why these things are necessary to create the change that we need to have in this country. That's the best I can do. If people don't engage with that, if it's too scary for them, then I don't know what else I can do after that.
Okay, speaking of questions, we do have a question. Sorry, Salgove, there's the chat is going really fast, so I'm not able to read them all. And these two gentlemen are also not able to read them all, but I'm sure it's about the flags. So he really wants to know your position, Gord, on the the position of the flag in the courtrooms and how they're. If you can ask the question again, is this the question here, Salgave? I don't think so, but the flag isn't being put in its the proper place in the courtroom, so they're not standing under the whatever the Constitution or.
Well, they're not held accountable, and they're not held accountable. Like I talked to Salgovi a few times too. I will say though that it's interesting because in court in Nova Scotia, as I'm going there to help my friend, the flag is in the right position in the court, and it isn't in Ontario. And in Ontario, all they have is the emblem, the corporate emblem. And I understand it went through the Treasury Board and all that, and they changed all the laws. And it doesn't, basically what he's saying, and I've talked to him about this, is it doesn't hold the judges accountable to, God, if you will. In the courts, they don't have no accountability, so they can do whatever they want. And and that flag being in there is supposed to be one of the emblems or the representations of holding them accountable to that. But what I did find interesting is it's not the case in Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia actually has the flag in the proper position. And I was wondering why that is. And I don't know about other provinces, but in Nova Scotia, it's there. And I know some places in Ontario, it's been there. And in some places in Ontario, it's not. And I don't know. See, you go into these courts and everybody assumes that every court that we walk into is a court of justice. And that's not true either. A lot of these courts that we go into are actually administrative tribunals. They're nothing to do with justice whatsoever. And that's one of the ways that they get us all the time. We don't understand what's going on in there. We don't comprehend what's going on in there. So one of the things, like when I would ask them if they're bound by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which I assume that Canada would be bound by the rules of that document, being a member of the United Nations, and also if we're bound by the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the judge in Norm's case, Norman Blanchfield, he told us that he wasn't bound by them documents. He was bound by statute and criminal code. Well, who passes statute? That's the government. So that means that he's controlled by the government. The courts are controlled by the government. But what he really was telling me, and I didn't understand it at the time, because I learn every day too. I don't pretend to know everything. And if I don't know the answer to a question, I won't lie to people or try to softball the bullshit. But that's basically telling me that court was an administrative court. So it's not a jurisdictional issue like some people talk about with common law, natural law, and legal. It's actually a venue. We're not in the proper venue for them to administer justice. And the problem is we don't have any way to enforce any law, any rule. They just do whatever they want because we can't hold them accountable to that. So I don't know why the flag is in some courts and it's not in other courts. I don't know the answer to that. But I agree with Sal Gobi that it does take away a certain amount of accountability for the judges. Yes. By not being held, because it's a corporatocracy. Everything went through the Treasury Board now, and they're basically corporations. Like when sorry to go on a bit of a tangent, but you see this a lot when people are in court, and it's happened recently here in the Sudbury area too. You're trying to video in court, and the courts will tell you that you're not allowed to video in here. Well, everybody assumes that these court buildings are public buildings. And at one point in time, they used to be, but they're no longer public buildings. They're privately owned by the corporation that the court is. And all of these courts are registered corporations. So that means you can't actually video in there because it's their policy and they own the building. It's no different than Walmart or Canadian Tire. And it's the same thing in police stations. They tell people that you can't video in here, and people are saying this is a public building. Of course we can. But the confusion is it's not actually a public building. It's a private building owned by the corporation of whatever police service it is that they're talking to at the time. And this information can be proven. Michael John, he's done a mountain of digging, especially in Ontario, of all the courts and their corporate registration numbers and all the policing organizations and their corporate registration numbers and all of this. And so this stuff is not really debatable either, but it's up to people to look at the information if they choose to. all bugged out for a minute.
Paul gone?
Yeah, I don't see him. Do you see him? I can't
No.
see the question, so I can't answer anything.
No. So is there something else you want to talk about in terms of the party platform there, Gordan?
Yeah, like it's pretty basic. The Governor General is an issue. The Governor General, based on all the stuff that I talk about that you may disagree with, is fine. But the Governor General is basically a position without authority. They don't really have authority. What used to happen, the Governor General would go through a process from the UK. That's how they would get power. And now they've kind of bastardized it where the Prime Minister appoints like Mary Simon and then she's okayed by the Crown and so on. So really that's just a fraudulent position without any authority, and she's raping us of a massive amount of money. She doesn't have any actual power. It's all a big ruse. And of course they play off like it is. That's got to happen. The Senate is an unelected bureaucracy that's supposed to have the ability to make laws and validate all the things that went through the House of Commons. So the Senate shouldn't be there whatsoever. They're not representatives of the people. They're appointed. Separating the courts from the politics. The politicians will tell you that the courts are separate, but they're not separate. All the Supreme Court judges are appointed by the Prime Minister, whichever one is in power at the time. And every other court, if you want to go look, you can go look all through provinces and so on and so forth. The judge, the prosecutor, all the legal aid, they're all paid for by the provincial government. So there's no separation of the courts in the politics. And the issue there is that's where the accountability would come into play. If we had a constitution that they couldn't overstep because there was punishments in that constitution for overstepping the boundaries of the constitution, and the courts were also separate from the political system, then there's no way that they could protect themselves from accountability. And the same with the policing structure. The policing structure is a corporate structure that's paid for by either the provinces or the federal government, but we need to have a policing structure that's more like sheriffs and deputies in the United States that are actually voted for by the people, and that makes them accountable to the people. These are some of the structural foundational issues that we got to deal with if we're going to ever have rights that we're born with actually protected. Governments were supposed to protect our rights, not take away from them.
Yes, and for protect contracts.
We need a system that's much closer to the way the States does things, where you have sheriffs and judges that are elected.
That's what I'm saying, 100%, exactly. And you also need two separate court systems. You need a court system that's based on common law, natural law for men and women. So if me and you have an issue, if I've harmed you, if I've vandalized anything, then we go to that court. There's still a legal system, but the legal system is for corporations. That's never where we're supposed to be as men and women for crimes against each other. That's a common law situation. And that's all been bastardized. And that's why we don't have any rights and we get trapped in this legal system.
Yeah, Tiz said I was MIA. I wasn't. I just take myself off the screen so you can see better.
Well, why didn't you say
I didn't know. I thought you bolted. Bathroom break.
No, I was still here. Yeah, I take myself off the screen. It's just to make them bigger because I know some of you have little phones and you can't really see and you're looking. I don't want.
Yeah, I just couldn't see any questions coming up in the chat. That's all. So I can't answer them if they're there unless you tell me what they are.
Yeah. It might have been a bathroom break, you know.
I know there was a lady in the comments earlier when we shared this before we come on. I'm going to answer that question. Kathy Pearson posted a comment about fake native cards and if I was part of that or whatever. And I'm going to address that. I was never part of that. That was an Asman protocol selling people fraudulent native cards for $50 a pop, supposedly giving them some sort of authority equal to the status card. And Asman is not an organization that is to the benefit of the people. It's another one of these organizations that's taking advantage of people, and it's actually doing a lot of damage with native communities. Then people will have to find their way through that, but I have nothing to do with that. I've never done anything with any of these cards. I've never tried to sell them. I have nothing to do with that. I don't agree with Asman. And the only other thing I'll say to add to that is some people have said in the past that I claim to be Métis, or I claim this and I claim that, and I've never claimed that either. I don't actually know what my heritage is. I do not know my birth father. I do not know what I am. So I look at myself, Heinz 57, if you will, and I know to some people I look native, and I don't know where this idea came from that I was presenting myself as Métis, because I've never done that. So just to clarify on this show, I've never done that. I don't claim Métis. I don't claim native. I don't have any of the Asman fake status cards. I've never done anything like that.
Yeah, neither have I. And you know, I never followed Tamara or Chris Barber. I just didn't fall into that. You know, I didn't fall into the ostriches, and I just my gut just told me that, you know, there are more important things right now. Is our fellow man. You know, I want Canada back, and I think we can do it if we find a way to unite. And that's really the key, is to build and grow quickly, because we don't have time. We have to express that to the people we love, and find a place to unify and grow as quickly as we can before the 2030 you own nothing and be happy. You know, they're telling us they're going to be able to control how we feel. That's an emotion. To say you will be happy is admitting that the mRNA technology can control your emotions. And if they can make you happy, that means they can also make you mad.
Yeah, it's not just mRNA technology, though. It's frequency technology. So even without the mRNA technology, which you're correct, I believe, too, but just the frequency and the 5G infrastructure that they put up. 5G is military tech. It's old military tech. And I've actually seen studies and videos and different things where they can literally control the emotions of animals, such as rats and things like that. And they can, by turning up frequency or tuning it to whatever the tune is that they need, make them literally violent and angry and aggressive, as opposed to just being docile in the cage. And so there's a lot of stuff coming. But I want to say that, and I'm going to do a video myself. I've been busy trying to travel, returning a borrowed vehicle that I had and so on. So I've been a little bit quiet online, and I've been working on this too with research. But the most pressing thing that we're facing right now is the digital identification and the digital currency and the unified ledger that's going to be run on through the blockchain and tokenization. The digital ID is being implemented very strategically. People that need government assistance are having a box that pops up that they have to check, and there's no option. You either check it or you don't get service. So that's one of the ways they're going to do that, push you out of the system and push you out of the, you know, the things that you need. They'll implement the same thing within the corporate entities. They're going to need, you know, some sort of a digital thing or so on and so forth. They're going to combine that with the currency, and they're going to have total control. And they've talked about it. They'll be able to control what we spend, where we spend, if we can spend, how much we can spend. And they're even going to put expiry dates on the money. So everything, tokenization basically is everything is going to go on this blockchain they call the unified ledger. Literally everything. The land, the water, the people, the debts, the assets, everything will be on that blockchain. And they'll have complete control of it. All the crypto people are going to be in a big mess because the crypto is going to end up on that blockchain, and they're not going to have accessibility to it in this free money kind of thing away from the structure. And once they get to that point, it's almost the end game. So people can, if you could be a millionaire, you could be wealthy and not struggling like some of us do, but you'll get dollar for dollar. It'll go onto this unified ledger, and you'll still have, but when they put expiry dates on your money, then what happens? There's no remedy for you to address that. They're just going to expire it. And then, so at the end of the day, the goal is two classes, the ruling class and the slave class. And of course, they're going to bring in the universal basic income, stable coin is part of this. Because remember, the governments, both Canadian and American governments, said that they were not going to do CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. But they're doing stable coins, which is pretty much the same thing. And that's the trap, that people don't see the CBDC, so they think it's a win, but stable coins are coming. And stable coins in Canada was part of the budget. If you want to go read the budget, they talk about the stable coin stuff. In the US, they've already started all the way back in 2023 by introducing FedNow, which means every transaction that goes on in the United States goes through the Federal Reserve, not just from bank to bank. And in Canada, that's coming probably in the next few months. In 2026, they're going to start implementing the same thing here. So
yeah, what they're going to do is really be
building
seductive.
fast. That's what I say. We need to build fast. We need to show that the people are coming. And if we have enough timeline, I don't know. Maybe they get this done beforehand. I don't know. But we can't control that kind of stuff. So I don't know the window of time it's going to take. All I know is we can build as fast as we can build to try to give ourselves an opportunity to change this before it really locks us into place.
Can't hear you, Paul.
I can't hear you, Paul.
Really?
Oh, now we can.
Oh, yeah. Robbie said his wife worked with people with disabilities, and every one of them were required to be vaxxed. And another sad situation, but it is a crime what they've done to us. They ruin your lives, and the offer made to 12-year-olds because they're turning into eunuchs wasn't exactly what they planned. They will never have orgasms or be able to bear children. They're removing that ability by how they feel at a young age. And I know I've been a young age, and I remember not knowing what was going on. It was all exploratory, finding myself, finding my gifts and what I enjoy and music. But they have what Kirk Reese mentioned, Bill C-290 was the whistleblower protection. So they have this law, but they don't use it. So even laws that exist aren't being utilized to protect whistleblowers. And I'm going to have a lot of whistleblowers tomorrow night show. Kirk, Salgave, some people like John Wick, and more. I can't tell you everything because it's a secret. It is military people, and I will have shows that I will say just the season 2 episode this, and I'm not going to tell you who it is because just to protect the guests, and that's the world we're living in today, where we have to watch what we think, watch what we say. Self-policing is just a part of this program that we're living under. They want you to self-police, and they will offer lots of money with the universal basic income. It's going to be $2,000 or $3,000, and people are going to say, wow, this is great. I can live on this. But all the prices of food is going to go up. The price of electricity is going to go up, and that money is going to become less and less and less, and you've been trapped and you're a slave. Completely entrapped, like a mouse trap. There's no way out, and that's what they're building right now, and they're pushing it. And, even if Bill C-9, does, going to jail for quoting scripture on Facebook, my God, it's never been more in your face how this is a spiritual war. But the point is, the intent was there. No matter what they say, all their bills that they try to pass show their intent. And
so they're breaking international law. So as I've learned, as I said earlier, Paul, sorry, this is important, and I'll let you continue, but it goes to what you're saying. These bills that they're discussing in Parliament, like you said, Bill C-9 and so on and so forth, these are in violation of international law. So I found out that the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights is not a legally binding document in Canada. However, if you look it up on the government's own website, you'll find the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights is a legally binding document in Canada. And I would certainly advise people to go look at that document, print it off, and get themselves comfortable with it. Because in that document, it clearly states that you have every right to your political, religious, whatever, and you also have every right to share them via any media available, whether it's on the street as a street preacher, whether it's on social media. So all of the social media applications that censor us are breaking international law. Politicians that are even talking about this and discussing this bill in the House of Commons are in violation of international law. But now here comes in the bigger picture. The bigger picture is, what court in this world can we take this information to get justice? Because all of the courts are part of this worldwide agenda, as evidenced by the International Criminal Court saying that Netanyahu's a war criminal and putting out arrest warrants for him. Meanwhile, he'll go to the U.S. Congress and ask for more money for the war over there. So we there's no place that we can go to get justice. None of the structures that exist for the people, supposedly for the people to get justice, are giving us justice. Again, that's why this is the only peaceful solution that we have to take. And I hope people really understand the power that I'm trying to put out here. I can't do this without people. I'm not trying to say, come follow me. I'm trying to get people involved, people that become members, join a private Telegram group where they're involved in decision making and things like that moving forward. So I just hope they recognize what I'm trying to accomplish and people get on board as quickly as possible, and hopefully it works. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in the future.
No, honestly, Gord, I would have you on every week if I thought it would make a difference. You know, I think you have an important message and a vision that deserves attention, and the more people that know about it, the better, because we do need solutions. We don't need leaders. We need to participate. This, Gordon, it's not about being leaders. He's saying this is the problem here, and we can fix it. But we have to do it together. We can do it together. We have smart enough people to create a curriculum that is beneficial to our children, that will teach them self-respect, teach them how to do all the things: cooking, cleaning, ironing, sewing, all these life skills that are valuable and beneficial to your fellow man. When your grandma knitted you mittens, that was a skill that she was able to show her love and give you comfort at the same time. That's who we are naturally. That's being stolen from us. And we can restore that because the ideas are there. When you have the idea, that's all you need. We have smart people to make the curriculum that will allow us to have the Renaissance we're due.
That's the power right there. Like there's enough professionals from every profession that understand we need to create change. And I hope that those people come on board with this and help, because I don't know the answers to everything. I know the basis of what I'm trying to accomplish, but there's education people that have been speaking about this agenda with the schools all for the last bunch of years. There's people there that can help fix that curriculum. There's doctors and nurses that stepped away because of the shots that can help fix the medical system. We can fix it all. We built it all anyway. We can fix it all. But the reason we can't is because we got these parasites, puppets, that are blocking everything. That's why we struggle with everything around. So all of the little things that people are fighting, it's all honorable when you're trying to fight against the trans agenda in the education system, or you're trying to fight against the issues going on in, the healthcare system or the court system. But these are all low-level things that we're dealing with. They're all legitimate. I'm trying to say, if people really put their energy all into this movement and we remove the parasites and work together to redesign the structure so it works for the people, benefits the people, that's what I'm trying to accomplish. And I can't do it alone. So I'm not proclaiming myself to be some leader, come follow me. I'm trying to find people that will join with me and work with me and walk with me, and we can accomplish this together.
I have to share, Robbie said, I trust a man with a beard before one in a suit. Sorry, Paul. Yeah, I mean, I got that politician look. I understand. Yeah, I hate myself too sometimes. But I am sincere, and that's all that matters. And I'm not looking for money. I'm not asking for money. I'm not trying to create a protest or violence. I'm not trying to tell you what to think or what to be, because you are divine, whether you like it or not. And our main quest in life is to find our place, to find out who we are and who we're intended to be. Because you were intended to do something. My part's small. I'm just here to be pretentious in my suit. And
No,
it's
I don't know.
okay.
It's a calling. It's a mission. That's what I feel. And there's an argument you can say for how well people dress, because first impressions are important in certain I mean, there's certain applications where I should clean myself up and maybe wear different clothes. But what I want people to understand from this basically is I'm them. I'm exactly like everybody else. I went through regular life. I had children. Yeah, I've been on the system. I went through unemployment. I've had no jobs. I've worked in I've run my own businesses. I've done whatever. I'm just a regular dude. And for whatever reason, I know what I know, and I'm willing to try to walk a path that I don't even know where it's going to take me. And, I do ask for help. A lot of people can say a lot of stuff about people grifting or things like that. But when you understand what I'm trying to accomplish, I've given up my whole life. I don't say that in a victim mindset. I've made that choice. But in order for me to travel the country, introduce this stuff, meet people in person, have rallies and so on and so forth, that's going to take assistance, and I can't do it alone. And if the people don't engage, there will come a point in time that I will have to make a decision to take care of myself, because if the people don't engage with what I'm trying to do, then I can't accomplish what I'm trying to do without them. So I know what's coming in the long term. So I'm not there yet, but there will, if I get there, then I may have to make that decision to step back and make sure I take care of me. But right now I don't know. I can't go back to the regular world and be a regular guy, because everything that we see is not real, and the world's burning all around us,
And good is bad and bad is good. And the suit really is just respect for my guest, respect for the truth, and being respectful to the guests. It's my own thing. I've always dressed up in my band. If you ever see my music videos on YouTube, you'll see I'm always dressed up. And it's just my thing. I mean, but I can understand, because the politicians dress that way too, and they've really been detrimental to dressing good.
Yeah.
Bands now, they wear rags and t-shirts, where in my day, I'm not that old, but I'm not quite as old as Moses, but they all wore matching suits, and that was respecting the music and respecting the audience. It really wasn't an egotistical thing, but more of a, and I want to give credibility to what I'm standing for, and that's what the suit is really. Just so you know, it isn't to be pretentious every day. I do have a sense of humor, and that's important, because laughing can heal you, just like tears can heal you. So they're both okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to laugh, because it will heal you. Even music can heal you. And we're on a healing mission, because you've all been abused by these governing criminals. There are criminals. It's proven over and over and over, right to the castle in England and the UK. They've shown no respect for the Y DNA line of the royal family from David. Once you break that line, you have to go back and find the next. It has to always be a king, always a male. It has to go. It's a patriarchy and that's another thing I'm doing right now. I don't know why I'm doing it, but I was pulled into this people that are from the Judea line, and they're searching for the king and wanting to get the paperwork to appoint the king and dethrone this usurped crown. So I have a lot of different things going on that that just is, I feel like it's my purpose, because of love, because I do care about everyone, all mankind. I care about the people in Gaza and Israel. I care about everyone. I will not pick a side, because they're our fellow man. There's one race, the human race, and there's one God, And whether you're religious or not, I'm not a preacher. I just speaking the truth, and that's the whole purpose of this show and this episode is to tell you the truth and share our knowledge and strengthen each other, like iron sharpening iron. That's what we're here for. And I hope we've been helpful. Hopefully, you all become friends with each other in the audience. When you find like-minded people, embrace them, because they're there. They have the same purpose of freeing our fellow man, and it's a righteous cause. This isn't an ego situation here. This is a righteous cause. People are going to be harmed. People have been harmed using our money. Our money and our work and our efforts have blood on it that we don't deserve to have. Because we shouldn't be funding anymore. It's like, you guys want to fight? Go ahead, fight. It's none of our business. We don't like it, but we're not gonna judge you. We're gonna wish for the best for you. You have to fight for your own country.
Keep the money. Don't send it off to fund wars.
No,
Yeah.
That's why I say it's also in the platform as well with the military. I think we should bring back our military from all the bankers' wars around the world. And what is the main job that they should do when they get back to Canada? Is help us deal with the immigration issue that we have and the people that were brought in here unvetted. There's a lot of people that were brought in here not going through typical immigration policies. And I'm not against all the immigrants. I know personally people that came here and went through hardship to become Canadian citizens. And they've worked and they were away from their family for years and they've come here for a better life. I have no issue with that. But certainly, since Trudeau really started implementing the replacement migration policy, there's people that come here and they've admitted they're not even vetted. They don't know where they are. There's terrorists, there's criminals. Like, these people have got to be sent back home, cleaned out. This isn't an anti-immigration thing. The platform says a moratorium on immigration until we deal with the issues at hand. And then we have an immigration policy that makes sense to protect the culture of this land. And when people come here for a better life, then they will get a better life, but not come here and bring your hatred and your anger and the stuff that you're running from to this land to upset the society in this land. That's what they're doing around the world to create social unrest, to implement this strategy. Like, you see what they're doing in the UK. They've opened the door in the UK, just like in Canada. And that's how they're going to try to implement the digital ID. Now they're saying that you need that to work to prove that you're a UK citizen. But you guys are the one that brought all these people in here and let them come in on boats, you see? So that's a Hegelian dialect. They create the problem. They've already got the solution in the back of their mind.
Well, Kathy wants to know how someone can help. Well, the website is in the comments. You'll find it there. And, it's really easy to read. But it is in the comments on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. So it's no matter where you're watching, you'll be able to find it. And just click on it. Take your time. It's not 17,000 pages like a bill they try to pass overnight in the States. We'll read it later. I mean, that is such a criminal approach to sovereignty, just a attack on sovereignty. They've been so bad in the States. So bad.
The simplest thing I say to people when they say, how can I help? So first off, that's kind of a trappy question because I don't know what their skills are. But the simplest way I'm going to explain it to people is go to the website, go through the platform, whatever questions and concerns you have by going through the platform, reach out, send an email. If you know me at a different level, contact me, however it is. I'll address some questions and concerns that you have, make sure that you're comfortable with the information, and then you can join the party from there. You'll be part of the private member group then as the membership, and then you'll have a more comfortable ability to go and talk to your friends and your family and share this information. In the meantime, before I am able to get to wherever these people are, because it's going to take me some time to get organized and get things rolling, and I'm working on that now,
Mhm.
I would still say if you can have meetings with people in your area, in your community, go forth and have your meetings. And if I can be of assistance, or if I'm needed to be of assistance, I'm more than happy to do Zoom calls, Facebook Lives, or whatever with the people at the meeting, so I can address questions and concerns that people may have in the meetings. And I do that, and I have been doing that, helping other people around the country. Don't wait basically until I'm going to be coming to your area. The idea I'm trying to implement here, remember I said earlier that leaders really are trying to find other leaders. So build your community and I'll help you. And when I get there, hopefully we'll already have a big leg up and I can help really solidify things as we move on. That's
Yes,
the
find
easiest
the
thing I
leaders.
can. And if you have certain skill sets that you can bring to the table to help, like marketing, social media stuff, whatever, there's all kinds of different variables like finances, marketing, advertising, website, all them things. If you have skill sets that you think would be beneficial to help build this out, then by all means let me know and we'll find a
Yeah.
place that we can fit you in.
And find leaders in your locale, where you are.
Yeah.
You can vote on these people and bring them in, and they can learn the program. It's not that complicated. To me, all of this can be fixed easily. Like healthcare, stop addressing the symptom and solve the problem. Use remedies that already exist, that have existed for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Plants usually work. Not genetically modified plants, but God's given plants that we were, from those plants work. The other ones don't. So yeah, um, if you want to be a leader, you can be a leader too. People need leaders. It takes a lot of strength, though. You have to, you have to, be tolerant and patient and answer questions. And leadership is a very, it's a very demanding because you're going to get pulled from every direction. Like a kindergarten teacher. Getting yanked at by 7 kids at the same time, all answering different questions. So yeah, you have to be patient to do that. But that's a part of it. It's not just about Gordan being a leader, but it's also about you being a leader. We need all of us. We all have a place in this. The important thing is to link people together that are like-minded, that do want freedom, that do want a sovereign country. And we can do it because it is a war, like it or not. But we're not going to lose our lives and storm the Capitol. We're going to find a way to do it without breaking laws and making these people accountable. Whether they have a gun at the back of their head and they're scared or not, they're still part of it. And they're still destroying our country, destroying the minds and potential of our children. And we've had enough, but we're doing this with wisdom. We're not doing this with emotion. That's the most important thing. Is I know people get mad, and I know people get enraged, and you have a right to be upset. They've done the wrong things over and over and over. They're absolutely not being incompetent. They're deliberate. Everything they're doing is deliberately designed, masterful by highly intelligent people, way above Trudeau. These are people in high places. They're not stupid, and they're stealing the wealth of the world, all of us, every country.
Yep.
And anyone who isn't compliant gets assassinated. So that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with people that have no problem killing to get what they want. If someone stands in their way, it's nothing for them. $2,000 and they've got an assassin. So we have to use wisdom and love. And if we become martyrs, at least we've, died with dignity and righteousness.
I think there's divine intervention that comes into play. I would say there's been times in my journey where I say I was protected. I can't explain it. Obviously, none of us can explain it, but that's why I walk this path without fear. I recognize the possibilities that could come out, but at the same time, and I know I'm walking in the right path, and I don't know if I'll always be protected, but thus far I have been. Talking about that, and then part of this is also on a consciousness level, in the collective consciousness of humanity, and a frequency level, and raising the vibrations of the land. These are important things as well, spiritually speaking, and so on. And I think by educating people about what the system is designed as such, and then what we can actually do to fix things and what we need to do, I think that does raise the collective consciousness. And I think when people start to see the wrongs of the world, not people that know, but people start to see the wrongs of the world, and they have a place to turn that it maybe offers solutions to what they're starting to see, then I think that also raises the frequency and the collective consciousness as well. And I've personally witnessed people that fell for the ruse of the vaccination protocol, and I'm very careful when I'm speaking, but they recognize themselves now that they've been harmed by this, and hopefully they recognize that this is an option for them to turn to, and it is peaceful. And when the powers that be are standing there and they're looking at their big war map, I would say this strategy that I'm trying to implement is not on that playbook anywhere. That's why I say glitch in the matrix. They can see revolutions. They can see people storming the castles. They can see all of the social unrest. They're prepared for all that because it's almost like they want that to happen. And we may not have an option. I'm not saying we can't go there. We might be forced into that. But they want that to happen because then that gives them the ability to invoke martial law and to come down on us hard and so on and so forth. So I'm just trying to do this as I believe, and a lot of my friends believe, that this is our last peaceful attempt at creating the change that we need to have. And I'm trying to avoid the ugliness of revolution and civil war, because in that, we're going to lose many, many, many lives. Win or lose, there is no victor in war. Many, 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 many lives are going to be lost. And I'm just trying to avoid that. And hopefully it works. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe they force our hand before then.
Yeah, I mean that would be wise to not, cause harm, but we are dealing with people that are causing harm. They really are, and they're doing it to our youngest, and that's unacceptable. It's an absolute godless thing to do. What they're doing, in our schools with under lock and key.
Yep. It's been a long time.
In my green room. You can't be in my green room, Salco Bay. Oh, you must be in the wrong stream. That was tomorrow's stream that you're in, Salco Bay, just to let you know. He said he's in there in the green room. Yeah, that's not the one we're using. But if you want to come, I can bring you in. I don't have a problem with that. Salgave is on tomorrow's show. He's also a Canadian Armed Forces veteran, and you gave up waiting. Yeah, sorry. That's tomorrow's show. That'll be tomorrow, and I hope you can make it.
Guys, I think I've got to head off, but lovely chatting with both of you.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
You as well, Brandon. Take care, brother.
Take care, Gordan.
Thanks for your input.
Paul?
I'll see you again soon. Be well, brother.
All right.
And about the beard thing, guys, I can't grow a beard, or I would have one. I'm Micmac. Seriously, no beard, no mustache, no hairy chest. It's just not happening. And I'm old enough to start at least. But yeah, so there's something that I will never have. But that's okay. I mean, we're all created perfectly. And thank you, Kathy, for your kind words. That's very nice of you.
I
So
just, just so people understand, Paul, I truly wish that there was an avenue that we as the people had to bring justice and accountability back to this world without going to such extreme measures.
yeah,
I truly wish that. I literally, like, I don't have fun. Like, this for me is like, this is a hard road I'm on. And I've given up a lot to do this because I don't have a choice. I have 10 grandchildren. I know they have no future if we don't change something. I wish it would be as simple because I'm pretty well versed with law and I don't know all the answers, but I wish there was somewhere. I wish there was a court that we could go to and get justice. I wish there was a police organization that we could go to and get justice. I wish
yeah,
there was a politician that we could vote for that would change what's going on.
yeah.
But as time progresses, and as I learn more about this mess, they show us that those are no really options for us. And we've tried. How many people have been to court? How many people have been to the police stations? How many elections, not just federally, but provincially, have we had in this landmass in the last 5 years? And literally nothing has changed.
No.
So they're putting us in this position. I'm not
Yes.
here because I want to be here. I'm here because I'm supposed to be here, I guess.
I suppose one way we could do it is somehow have like an online referendum kind of thing where, you uh, prove who you say you are, and just avoid any bots or anything like that. But that would be nice. Then we could ask questions and get responses, yes and no questions. Would you like to fund this war? I mean, I think people would be very happy if they had referendums and be able to influence the direction of the government. But yeah, we don't have that. But that would be a way to do it.
Well, there's aspects to that. Certainly, when you look at significant issues such as war, that would certainly be something. Would the people get behind it or not? But you can see the manipulation tactics that's being done by these governments. And this will be some people conspiracy theory or not. But, the U.S. government, 911, was to get people acclimated so they would support the war in the Middle East. Because at that time, the American people were tired of war. They had to do something. And so what did they do? They murdered their own people to get the American public behind the war. And then you can go back and you can look at what happened in D-Day, and Roosevelt knew that was going to happen days before, but in order to get the people behind America joining World War II, they kind of let things happen. And they've done lots of things. So war scenarios, first of all, they're all bankers' wars. We know that. So, but if that was to happen in the future, that is something that the people should decide if they want to support it. For sure. I agree with that. So big things like that should be done like that, but that's never going to happen inside of the current structure because they just do whatever they want and we just accept it and there's nothing we can do about it.
And that's just one example I wanted to make on how easy this is. To me, everything can be fixed easily. Everything. It's just a matter of including everyone, because I think everyone I met are good people. There's only very few that I would cross the street to avoid.
Yeah.
And no harm done, Robbie. I'm just playing with you. I know you were kidding. he thinks I'm offended by the beard. Trust a guy in a beard instead of a suit. No, I actually feel the same way because a lot of the bad things that are happening with people that are in suits behind desks with no bloodshed on their hands. Their hands are clean and manicured. They don't need money. They've got all the money already, but they're going out of the way to depopulate. They want a number, 1 billion. That's it. And the Georgia Guidestone was our tombstone, and that's what it was, a tombstone. 500 million. So a lot of people thought that was the number, but it's not. That was our number. The other number is 500 million Chinese and Japanese. So they're telling us what they want.
Yep.
And when they destroyed the tombstones or guidestones, Freudian slip, that was the starting point. That was the COVID. That was a shot before the race, boom, start, and all the governments around the world, panic, panic. 33 cases was in, like, almost every country. They announced 33 cases.
Yeah.
What the hell was that? I mean, it was orchestrated, just like the demolition of,
Project Mockingbird. You can hear them on Project Mockingbird. All the media speaks the same stuff all around the world, right? Like, this stuff has been going on for a long, long time. I know it's a lot for people to take. I have a hard time sometimes talking to people that don't know a lot, because I want them to know what's going on so they recognize what we need to do to fix the problem. But by the same token, on an empathetic level, I don't really want people to know what I know, because it's heavy to carry that and watch what's going on in the world. And it's heavy enough that it's hard to function in society as it exists today when you know the truth of what's going on in the world.
I'm the same. I try to be careful because I know it is heavy, and I don't like being in the low frequency for too long, because you've already suffered. You've already been abused, and we know that, and we don't want to cause more harm, but we do want to unify mankind. That's what I want to do. That's what Gordan wants to do. We're on the same page. We do care about our fellow man, and we are willing to die. We don't prefer to die, and we may die, but we don't want to die without doing as much as we can to, empower our fellow man, because it's really about empowering you to believe in yourselves and to participate. We need all you leaders. We need the divine masculine to stand straight and strong, and the divine feminine to be strong and accept the map that's all been taken apart, ripped apart through social engineering to destroy families, and it can be restored. It seems like 10,000 miles away, but we really could do it quickly, because we have the minds. We have the creative minds that can do it, that want to do it, that want to participate. We have brilliant minds that could, completely overhaul the healthcare system, where people have linen sheets on them, where the linen sheets and sunlight, that's the way you used to have it. They had linen sheets, and it helps promote healing. Now they have all kinds of bleach and crap on their sheets, and you're getting electric shocks, and it's absolutely terrible. It's a horrible situation.
Yeah, there's a mountain of information when you start really digging into the rabbit holes, for sure. But we're ingenious, man. We can create everything. We've created so much already, and we can continue. And technology doesn't have to be an enemy. Technology is not the issue. Technology in nefarious hands is the issue. Some of the technology that exists today can be a benefit to us if we're using it in the right manner, and it's not being done with nefarious things. One thing I wanted to mention. I don't know if I've talked about it very much before, but I want people to look at the logo and the purpose of the logo. Because when you talk about coming together, I don't like the word unity because it's got the UN in it, but coming together as people, that logo was designed on purpose. And I want to thank my friend Danielle Peterson, who put it together for me. She designed it, but I just gave her the idea. But anyway, that flag, Canadian Maple Leaf, has 11 points on it, and the 11-point maple leaf is under copyright with the Canadian government. So you need to have their permission to use a Canadian maple leaf. So keep that in mind when you look at other things that are existing out there. But this maple leaf has 13 points, and the reason it has 13 points is there's 10 provinces and 3 territories. That's the purpose of that 13 points. And then also, I put the eagle feather in the front of the 13 points, because that is bringing all 10 provinces, 3 territories, and the native nations together as one people to create the change. And that's what I want. That's what I want people to see when they look at that. It's about us all coming together for the benefit of all of us.
Yeah, it's a great logo, and it is true because I know a lot of Native people in the prayer circles. They want the same thing. Um, they want to unite the cowboys and the Indians, and and there are people that will try to usurp movements like the convoy. And the government, when they see us being successful, they will bring in their agents, to create division, and they're good at it. They've been doing it for since Iran in 1953. They knew how to rip apart a people, and that's when they took out Volvajek. I can't remember how to say his name, and install the Shah of Iran. So we've been doing this a long time, interfering, and it's really a military-industrial complex is a big issue. A lot of presidents, Truman talked about it, um, how it's out of control. And in 2002, it said that Mossad basically took over the Pentagon. They didn't have to any. They didn't need passwords or key cards or anything. They just walked in. And that was after they did 9/11. So they basically took over, and then there was an investigation. There was over 3,000 computers at the Pentagon that had child pornography on it, and nothing was done about it. Nobody was arrested. None of it came out. They told it, and then they didn't do anything about it. And so there's a profit in that. They are going into your phones, your children's phones. Kids do naughty things online with each other, and all that is being collected and sold in the deep web. I mean, we're talking about very dark people here that pray to Moloch, the Bohemian Grove god. They burn babies as their effigy, their sacrifice to Moloch. I mean, it's it's not a conspiracy. They had a big ceremony in Chicago in the 50s where they had the Moloch, and they danced through the streets worshiping their god. So even though there's laws against anti-Semitism, but Palestinians are Semitic. They are, bombing Gaza is an anti-Semitic act. These European Jewish people are not from. They're not locals. They're not from that area. They have no, they're a different. They're Jewish. They're not Jews. They're Jewish like. They've adopted Judaism, but they're not real Jews. I look at all the leaders. I've got it on my page.
Yeah.
A picture of all leaders of Israel, and they're all European.
They're not really Jews or Zionists. They come from Khazaria and Ashkenazi, and they're right. That's what they did. They converted, and then they hijacked the religion, and that's how they started taking over and started to really get control of things. So and they even created anti-Semitism. That's one of them that created anti-Semitism to protect them from anybody speaking out or trying to hold them accountable for their crimes.
Yep.
So it's an ugly world when you really start going down all them rabbit holes. But I've been there. I've seen a lot of stuff.
I mean, all those burnings. When they were bombing tents and the children were on fire. I mean, that is what they do for their gods. Moloch. All they had to do was obey their covenant. That's it.
Yeah.
And they just wouldn't do it. Have no gods before you. That's the first one. And that's exactly what you're doing wrong. And I don't know why you're doing it. I know you're godless. Even though you have Moloch, you still have no morality. You have the lowest age of consent of all religions, which is 0. Like as soon as they're born, it's okay to cohabitate. And they even say in their book that they heal. The children will heal. It heals back. Come on.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's okay if they're younger than 3 years old because they'll heal back in the Talmud. The Talmud's an evil book, man.
Yeah. I mean, the Quran is 9 years old and 6 years old, which is what they're done in Iraq. So they're compliant with the Quran. The Bible is just when they have the period. So it's still, to me, I don't believe in any of them. I think it's, just because you can have a kid doesn't mean you're ready to have a kid. And you certainly marry your kids off. They should be able to fall in love and love who they want. And that should be, an international thing. Honor killings, because your daughter falls in love with a Christian. I mean, that's unacceptable. That's godless. That's not righteous.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
I don't want that in Canada. And that, their way of doing things, they take over communities, they terrorize the community, so they move out. Then they've got the election, and it's all a numbers game because they are breeders. So it's only a matter of time before there is no escape, and they will have seats of power. And this is what our government's been supporting for 100 years all over the world, is
Yeah.
dictatorships and women beating men beating their wives. But I would definitely like to do a show on that because I don't agree with the religions. I think the brain to me, it's logical. The brain is finished growing and developing when you're 25. So you shouldn't be able to vote, get married, or even drive until you're 25. I know that sounds strict and like I'm a party pooper, but I really think that's necessary because you're not ready. Just because your body is ready to get pregnant, your mind isn't. And to me, it's better to use wisdom than just to go by a book that may have been compromised by dirty
They're
people.
indoctrinating our young people. And so another thing I want to point out compared to this party and other parties, if people go look at the other parties and their pages, their websites or whatever, you'll see now that they've changed it, that you can be a party member at the age of 14. And it used to be 18. So when I put this together, I left it at 18 because at least at 18 you have some semblance of ability to make decisions, rational decisions, on an educational basis.
Yep.
And I think that these parties are changing it to 14 because it's another deeper level of indoctrination of how these people think. Like they do in the schools with their children, they don't really teach them knowledge; they're indoctrinating them, teaching them to fit inside of a box or be a good citizen. And by bringing 14-year-old people, young people that are going through enough in life as it is, into political world, which, man, like, to me, that's just another whole level of indoctrination to keep them in control. So I chose to not do that, even though all the other parties did, and I left it at 18 because I thought that was more reasonable for people to be able to make rational decisions.
Yeah, I would agree. But I still did stupid things at 18. But yeah, I agree. Driving, voting, sure. I want the education system to be fixed so they can learn about all the parties, that and what they've done, what they say on their platforms, and what they've actually done. So the truth, that's what I want in education. The truth of the history of the Liberal Party is not good. It's not pretty. And the same with the conservatives. They're no longer conservative. Look at Doug Ford pouring out whiskey bottles that were made in Canada. Talk about making a fool out of yourself. I mean, he's just a big, dumb bully. That's all he is. He's not fit to govern. But none of them are. The Green Party, the NDP is the worst. Look at British Columbia. What an absolute and the NDP brought the Bill 67, the critical race theory in Ontario, and it was unanimous. So we got nobody in there. No one, no representation. All we got is a Dominion voting machine that gives us the illusion that we had a choice, but we never did.
And key is they don't represent you. They actually work for the corporation, whether it's a provincial corporation or the federal corporation, and they swear oaths to the crown. Every one of them swear oaths to a foreign monarch who's not only foreign, but he's fraudulent, and he's limited in power based on the UK Declaration of Human Rights in 1688. So these are facts. People can disagree if they want to, but the bottom line is this is just an attempt to try to give the people an option to take our power back and to fix the problems at the foundational level. And I don't see no one else offering this. And I think on a worldwide scale, because a lot of people will say, yeah, but on one hand, you say they're puppets and the authorities at the UN or WEF and so on and so forth. And that's true. But as far as we can reach here is only to the level of federal government. And I believe that we can create a domino effect around the world. Because when Australia and New Zealand and the UK start seeing what we're doing here in Canada, and they can follow suit, these unelected NGOs, international NGOs around the world, all of their power comes from us. The UN doesn't have an army. NATO is built by the militaries from all of the other countries around the world. It doesn't exist by itself. The WEF doesn't have any power if we don't take part in it. The WHO doesn't have any power if we don't take part in it. So when we take away their power, the people of the world take away their power, they don't have any power no more. That's why this is like evolution as opposed to revolution, the evolution of humanity. And some people don't like it when I say that because they think I'm being soft, but I'm not being soft. I'm trying to get humanity to stand up for themselves as individuals and communities, and just take our power back so we actually have a future.
And trust your gut. Your gut is never going to lie to you. Your heart will lie to you. That's how you get into bad relationships. And your brain will, your brain will do the same because, it's making these bad decisions for you as well. But your gut, your instinct, that initial gut feeling, that's like your superpower. That's your connection to your guardian angel, your direct connection, and that will never harm you, never do you any wrong. And don't think that we can't inspire the world, because we did with the truckers convoy. We started a hellstorm, and we can do it again. The whole thing was usurped, and that doesn't surprise me. They'll get their Antifas in there with their "Don't Tread on Me" flags and put that on the news. They'll do anything, and they know people will fall for it. They were following lines on the floor to save lives.
Yeah, it's crazy times.
And we care about those people, the people terrified in their cars with their masks on. You matter to us. You've been manipulated. There's nothing to be afraid of, So these are all victims. These people that complied are all victims. They didn't get better. You still probably get the cold. People that got the cold over and over and over and over, and they got more sick than they ever did. So yeah, that was a crime of the century, but it was a worldwide event. All mankind was under attack. We are post-event now.
Yeah. Some people have asked how we could bridge the gap between vaccinated and unvaccinated and all that, because they caused quite a divide. And one of the things that I want to talk about for that is I have a lot of empathy for people that were put in positions that felt like they had no choice. The truth is, everybody had a choice. They were difficult choices, but everybody actually had a choice, because compliance is how they rule some way or some other. But nonetheless, it's not really a fair choice when you're faced with losing your job and livelihood or doing this. So that's not a fair choice. But if we can remove the parasites and the powers that be from being in the way, these people that are suffering from injuries and so on and so forth from this shots, I believe that we can do a lot to help them with natural healing modalities, frequency healing modalities, and all of these things that the system is going to shut down because they don't want to help people. They literally are trying to kill people. And that's why they want to attack natural medicine and things like that. So if they're not in the way, and not only can we open that up on a broad scale, we could actually fund that kind of technology and advance it to a whole nother level. So I do believe that we can actually help a lot of people that are suffering from injuries, but we won't be able to do that with these people in the way. No. So I think that's the one way that we can unite both people.
Yeah. And like I said, to me, it's all easy to fix it all. It really is. We don't have to ban vaccines, but we make them liable for it. And they're going to make an effort to not kill people. Same with food companies. You have to, if you're putting bugs in there or something, say contains bugs.
Yeah, it's 100%. And the government's behind all of it. They're the one. Health Canada is the one that supposedly approves all this stuff for, for us to eat. Like, you go to a grocery store and the health food section is tiny. and it's expensive. And then it's not even health food most of the time because most of it's GMO. Farmers can't even plant seeds that aren't GMO. When they start buying Monsanto seeds, they're not allowed to do anything else. They're putting that Bovier into the beef now. And there's all kinds of information coming out from Eastern Europe that's limiting the milk supply of cattle. It's actually killing cattle. And I have a friend that's in Manitoba that I sent the information to, and he's looking into it deeper in Canada. But that was what Bill Gates brought out to limit cow farts, to help with methane and to limit, the environment, to say, like, holy man, like the stuff. And then if that's doing that much damage to the animal, how much damage is that doing to the people when you drink the milk or you eat the beef or whatever the case may be? Like, they're poisoning us on every level. They're poisoning the sky, they're poisoning the water, they're poisoning the food, literally everywhere we go, man. So, like I said, I don't believe that we have an option. That's the bottom line. And I don't see another real option out there. And that's not to inflate myself. I just don't see another real option out there.
Yeah.
And I keep doing what I'm trying to do, and hopefully it actually creates some change.
Yeah, because to me, like I said, it's easy to fix. They've made it complicated by, making 13-letter ingredients that nobody knows what the hell it is. And they make it tiny print, so you got to squint your eyes to read it. Everything that they could do to show their criminality. But the thing about it is now they needed this web, this thing that they have, the Wi-Fi and everything to spy on us. They needed that because they knew people are going to wake up. And when we wake up, I feel like I'm wide awake, and I think you are too. But I think there's people that we can't wake up, and there's nothing we can do. There's absolutely nothing you can do. They've been programmed. It's like de-brainwashing. What do you call that again? When you undo the brainwashing.
Yeah, deprogramming.
Deprogramming, yeah. Like, we have to bring them back because we care, Like, people that harm other people, they should be segregated. If you want to have a 15-minute city, put all the, people that take from others, their sexual desires, adults, children, doesn't matter. If they're that selfish, they should be segregated to protect our fellow man.
Yeah.
And these people need treatment. They need to, they don't need abuse. What they need to be is kept away from society. That's all. They can work, and they should do something for society, like building homes for the homeless, and you know what I mean? Doing something for the community, and they work there. They can shop there. They can cook there. They have basic freedoms, but they have no access to children. So, that to me is a righteous way. You have to protect the society, and we don't have, let him with no sin throw the first stone. So we don't have the righteousness to judge, so we have to at least do what we can to protect society, to protect our fellow man, and people who are in danger of our lives need to be segregated. I'm not against that. I think it's a responsible way to do it, because they're going to have to face the creator. The creator saw it all. So there's a witness, and there's no running away from that. You can't pray your way out of something like that. So they're going to have to deal with it later on anyway. So it's not our job to make them suffer, but it is our job to protect our fellow man. And we can do that. And we can set an example for the whole world. They actually watch us. We inspired so many countries to during the COVID. It inspired me back. It came back to me. It's like, wow, look at what we did. We woke all these countries up to this crime.
I agree. I hope so. It's funny. I was talking to a bunch of politicians, calling them out in Ottawa one time, and there was this one guy that was laughing about what I was saying. He actually was smirking, thought it was quite funny, and I told him, I said, I don't know why you think this is funny, and I said, it's interesting to me because you seem to be a little bit long in the tooth. So whether it's this world or the next, you're going to meet your judgment, and it is coming. So you can laugh here, but I am sure that you're not going to be laughing on the other side of the curtain. And I don't know. He didn't seem to. He's arrogant. He didn't seem to think it was real. But at the end of the day, I just want to put this stuff in their head. They're going to face their justice, whether it's here or on the other side. They're all going to face it at some point in time. So.
Yep. I also believe in separating the violent criminals from non-violent criminals, and allowing the non-violent criminals to work as well, to earn money, so that they have families, they can send money to their wives and children, and still work, but also be treated. I want all the prisoners to be all their heavy metals taken out of their body, like flush all the metals out and treat them. People with mental illness, schizophrenics, violent, mentally ill people need not to be released. Right now, they're releasing them on the streets. So they're endangering our fellow man again and again and again. The guy, like I said,
there's a lot of work to do. There's certainly a lot of work to do. Certainly in that system, like there's nothing in there to make people better. They go in there and they turn out worse. They spend their time with worse criminals than they were, and they come out usually worse. The only people that will change is the ones that want to change themselves. It's not the system that helps. So again, these are systems that we got to address and we got to fix. And there's a lot of work to do, but we can never do any of that work if we don't get in control of the system and start to fix it. So
exactly. And we have to use compassion, and we do want them to leave prison better people. We want them to have apprenticeships. We want them to leave carpenters and have a career, but while they're in there, to actually be functional and doing things for others, for the community. We have needs, and it's not slave labor, because if they know they're building homes for the homeless, it will be good for their soul. That we want them to love their government and respect their government for the way they were treated. We want to make better people coming out of jail. Right now, we're not doing that either.
They're supposed to rehabilitate, but we're not doing that at all. Just perpetuating it. But that's how the system operates. The system runs off that kind of stuff. So that's why we're in the mess we're in. They benefit from it, so they have no intent to change it.
No, and you see, it's easy to fix. I mean, I think my ideas would work. I think we would have a better, stronger, vibrant society.
It's not that complicated. It's really simple. Like the work is hard. There's a lot of work to do, but when it's about the people and what's best for the people, and that's the basis of your decision-making process, what's best for the people, that's how simplistic it can be. And today it has nothing to do with what's best for the people. It's what's best for the corporations. It's what's most profitable for this, whatever. There's no benefit to the people in none of this. Nothing that they ever do is about the best interest of the people. So that's the most significant change that we have to make. And then that basically, that covers pretty much everything that we have to deal with. When you're designing the structures, redesigning the structures to benefit the people, it's pretty simplistic at that point.
It is. And give them the ability to participate. If your city council proposes something, you can vote, right from home. Yes or no. A complete participatory system would be the best thing, because people will be more active. It will be very proactive, and so feel like your word means something and your vote means something.
Right, to that point. So when I look at things, I look at federal governments and provincial governments. I think we don't need the big bureaucracy. This will all be worked out with Constitution, Convention, and things like that. But my concept is, I think federal government, whatever that looks like, is not going to look like what it looks like today. Basically, I think they should do nothing but manage resources and infrastructure, and both of those things being overseen by civilian oversight boards, both in a provincial level and a federal level. I think the majority of the governance should be done on a municipal level, and that way it makes it much more easy for people to be engaged, because it's in their area, it's in their neck of the woods. And all municipalities across this landmass have different needs and so on and so forth. Obviously, there'll be some things done provincially or federally or what have you. But I think the majority of the governance should be done at that level. I don't think we need this overriding bureaucracy of the big
Yep.
federal and provincial governments at all.
Yep. And if we have police officers that are beating people for no reason and setting them up, with having a localized power, the city can have them fired, have them charged. Right now, we don't have that either. They'll defend each other. They'll stand up for each other like they're a little mafia, In Niagara, where I live, is the worst in the whole province of Ontario. The police are the worst here. I was beat up already, and I was set up. I was in my hotel room with a couple of guests, and we were just having beers, and they knocked on the door. No guests after 11, so they left. And then I went shut my door, and the cop put his foot in my door, and he goes, "Can you stay in the hallway?" And I said, "Why?" And he said, "I need to talk to you." So I, trustingly, I went in the hallway. I got choked from behind until I was unconscious. But before I went unconscious, the guy was hitting me with a stick. So I mean, absolutely for no reason. The people left. There was no reason for them to be there anymore, but they just felt like beating me up. And so I'm a witness to that kind of behavior. And in a localized system, we would be able to say, look, and charge these guys for violating my sovereignty, my right to be in my room. There was no law breaking. There was no drugs. It was just beer and, a couple of friends. I'm not loud and rowdy, so it wasn't a big party. There was no drugs. So, I mean, I see what they're capable of. I think God kind of made my path that way to be witness, to witness. And so I can visualize ways to fix it. And we can do that on a local basis. And, this party, I like it because I think it has the potential because you can change the party too. You can participate in the constitution of it. And it's not something that's going to exclude people. It wants you to be included. And that's something I believe in. I believe in being honest, straightforward. If I was here with commercials, there's no commercials on here. There's no sponsors. I pay for this myself and selling t-shirts, and I don't even sell, I'm not selling anything. I'm just speaking. I'm standing in the truth, and I would die in that hill.
Well, you realize that these police and governments and CRA, all these organizations, they actually break the criminal code to enforce their own laws. And I say that quite clearly because intimidation, section 432, I think, of the criminal code, you clearly read what intimidation means. And if you don't comply to what they're telling you, then they're threatening you with some other kind of punishment because you're not complying. This isn't about criminals. This is about people that are just getting rolled over. So they threaten you to comply. That's intimidation. So they're breaking the criminal code to attempt to enforce some sort of law. It makes no sense. CRA says you have to pay us this much money or we're going to take your house. What? That's not how the world is supposed to work, so anyway, I don't know. We could talk for hours and hours and hours. I guess it's getting late now, but there's lots we can do, and it's not that difficult to do that. And I really hope people give this a serious look and consideration. And like I said, they can reach out, and I'm here to help answer and clarify stuff and so on and so forth. So,
and I would like to have you back. If you would like that, I would appreciate that. As many times as it takes. Let's put it that way, because we're on a deadline here, and they're closing in on us. And and your input matters too. Whoever's watching, your input matters too. And all the information is there. The website's there. You can join the website. And we went 3 hours, but we could go another 3 hours. I know that. And I hope you do come back. I hope you do come back because I do enjoy talking with you and sharing our ideas. Iron does sharpen iron. And, we do care about our fellow man, or we wouldn't be doing this in the first place. And thank you all at home. that responded and participated, asked questions. I appreciate all of you. And, I hope you're all back when I get Gordan back on here again. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking with whistleblowers, military, veterans. So that should be a very interesting show. And thank you all for joining us. Gordan, any final words?
Well, the whistleblower thing, like I know Kirk, I don't do interviews on on my lives and stuff like that, but I've connected him with people before. I know he's always hollering and trying to get his information out there, but that's just for me. I'm not negating that doing what I'm doing, but to me, that's just more evidence to bring to the table when we start doing the actual investigations into the crimes that these parasites are committing. And that evidence will actually be, that's another piece of evidence that will actually be put on the table, not friggin' slopped off by the courts and the systems that are controlling us. So that's another aspect of this. The whistleblowers that have evidence of all these other crimes that I'm not necessarily aware of, although I know a Kirk situation, well, then they're more than welcome to bring that forward, because that's what this is all about, bringing accountability and justice back to the actual world and these people and not allowing them to get away with that. So I just people should seriously consider what I'm trying to do here and look at the thing. And like I said earlier, the easiest thing to do is look at it. You have questions, concern, reach out, don't make assumptions. Don't think it's too extreme. There's reasons why I put everything in there, and I'll explain it the best I can so people understand it, and then just get on board and help building out the communities. And eventually we get there. And hopefully, like you said, the quicker we get there, the better, because time is pressing. And I will come back. I appreciate you all. I appreciate that forum and all. I have no non-scripted questions and all that kind of stuff, and I pretend to know.
Well, it appears you have frozen. You froze for a second there. On my end, I don't know. You may not have for everyone else, but thank you very much for coming, Gord. I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to having you back, and I look forward to um, our success as a species, as a human race. I hope that we are successful in freeing our fellow man. And thank you all for joining me on the Truth Table. I am Paul Everton, the one and only host here. Not trying to get famous, but I do think it's important that we do talk about these things and reach out to each other. And we want to rise, the lions to rise. We don't need the sheep, we need the lions. So thank you very much for joining me here on the Truth Table. I'll see you tomorrow. The live tomorrow is at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.